Greetings, everyone. And welcome to an eco-freako episode of Monster Party.
Monster Party!
Acid rain! Greenhouse gas! Nature!
Oh, slime!
Oh, giant rats and rabbits.
I'm burning!
Oh, I'm burning.
Yes. And yes, speaking of burning, who are you, sir?
There you go. I am Matt Weinhold.
I'm SHAWN SHERIDAN.
I'm Larry Stroth.
And I'm James GONIS.
And for this episode,
It's
More,
topical.
yeah, it's topical. It's
always been topical.
yeah. I mean, for years it's been topical since the beginning of the Earth. Really, topical, maybe tropical. Yeah. But this episode really dabbles in some areas that we haven't really taken too seriously.
But this is ripped from the front page.
Yes, it is. Right. And so the topic of our show.
What is this topic?
Eco horror.
Eco horror.
Nature out of balance.
Nature out of balance. Pollution.
Overpopulation.
Global warming.
Pesticides.
Yes. Giant
A
animals.
seething cauldron of fucked up stuff.
Oh man, when nature bitch smashes us. Bitch smashes us? Let's try that again. When nature bitch slaps us. There we go. So that's it.
Well, speaking of bitch slap, how can we possibly do this show? I mean, this is a serious show. It's
I don't think we can.
horror.
I think it's
I
impossible.
think we should just stop right now.
No. But you.
No, I think Sean is onto something. Maybe we should just stop.
No, I think you guys, you dug deep, and you.
I reached back into like the first name in my phone.
No,
One of my best friends.
but he just happens to be a good friend.
But
But he's perfect for
he
this
is perfect
topic.
for this episode.
And why is he perfect?
He is perfect because, first of all, he was born in Kentucky. And we know about all the ecological mayhem that's happening in Kentucky right now. That
Yeah.
derby. Oh, the greenhouse gases.
Yeah.
Oy. But he is also the director of a film that I contributed to in a small way. A film called Carbon Nation.
Carbon Nation,
Yeah.
folks.
Right.
About
Carbon Nation.
dealing with climate change.
Climate change.
He was also the director of the film Garbage. Award-winning film.
Garbage.
Right.
And he's currently working on a project called Carbon COWBOYS.
Carbon Cowboys.
And I like to think of him as a wrangler of scientists or a scientist wrangler, however you want to say it. But anytime scientists can be wrangled, that's a good time. You know shit's going to happen that is going to be fun and educational.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have my good friend, Peter Bick.
Peter Big!
Gentlemen,
First time on the show. We've been
Mr.
wanting to have you forever.
long-time listener.
Yeah. He loves the show. He listens to every show.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Every show?
I don't know about every show, but close to it.
Most
Okay.
of
Yeah, yeah.
them, yeah.
That's
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a lot out of 150 episodes.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah, I started listening in 2015.
That's when it got good.
Okay. Cool.
I waited till you told me to start listening to it. Because you said you were doing a show, but you never said listen to it.
No, that's true. Yes.
And then when you said listen to it, I'm
no,
like,
now it's ready for listening.
So, Pete,
awesome.
you're a filmmaker.
Did
I
you
am
just
a
call him
filmmaker.
Pete?
No,
You are awful familiar right off the bat here.
I call him Pete? Well, you know, it's like we've shared dinner together. We had a couple drinks.
Listen,
had a
Master
few
P.
laughs. No, but
Actually,
you're
it's Flexi P.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's Flexi P. That's his music name.
okay.
He
great.
writes music too.
That's wonderful. But you're a filmmaker. You're
Yes.
you documentary guy. You know, but you care about our planet.
Yeah, I always have. My
Always.
parents, always. Back
Really?
in Kentucky.
okay. All right. This I got to hear.
My mom would literally stop us on the side of country roads, kick us out of the car, and make us go pick up trash.
No.
Really?
That's a
Real.
good mom.
Wow.
That's a really good mom.
My mom hates trash. She calls billboards litter on a stick.
Ooh, wow.
That's beautiful.
Isn't that nice?
That's really beautiful.
Yeah, and so I was raised with all that thinking about the planet stuff. In all my films, the film I made to get into Cal Arts, that's why I was happy we were talking about Koyaanisqatsi, because I was asked to speak about that at ASU where I teach.
Really?
Oh, I'm a professor of practice at Arizona State University.
I was looking for. See, that's
See,
the
I
other
forgot
thing
to
that
tell
he
you
does.
that.
That's
I
a
forgot to
big
tell you
one.
that. It's a great one.
That's a
Yeah.
great one.
I'm loving it.
Yeah.
And they asked me to speak about the movie, and I watched the movie and realized that's actually the film I was trying to make to get into film school.
Oh wow, yeah.
It was exactly the same arc of nature's great, people show up, it really gets screwed up.
And that movie, just for people who are not familiar, it's Koyaanisqatsi was made in 1982, and it's like a wordless film. It's all kind of done with like,
Well, there's one word.
well, yeah.
What's the one word?
which means life out of balance.
Yes.
Oh.
And it's basically
So it's about
the first,
me.
The movie
it a Hopi
begins with
word?
like
I don't
yeah, I think it is.
Okay.
Did you say Hopi?
Hopi.
Hopi.
Yeah, and it begins with like just nature footage and all
Gorgeous.
stunning, beautiful. It's
a beautiful movie.
Images of just rock formations, rivers, everything, and then you slowly see technology and man starting to encroach on these images. By the time you get to like the city, then you see like construction and like, it shows just with
Overpopulation.
music and pictures.
So,
the
wait a minute.
overpopulation
I'm
and
pretty
how-
sure
So
it's
it's
the
like
first...
it's like the opening scenes of Soylent Green.
Kind
and
of.
frogs. It's actually the
And
opening
frogs.
scenes of
Oh,
frogs.
and frogs too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought the opening scene of frogs was really brilliant.
Yeah, it's pretty
Peter
good.
Bick watched frogs.
That's awesome. That is
no.
That alone.
Above and
Yeah.
beyond.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
true.
And I got a problem with frogs.
Oh, do you?
Is it the poster? The
Poster.
the poster?
We hate. I know.
That's the film we want to make.
We made the whole movie to see the giant frog.
Yes.
The hen.
Yeah.
But they knew that was going to be a problem.
So
So,
they
if you
put it
watch
in
the
the-
whole film,
Yeah,
the
the
cartoon,
cartoon.
at the very end,
At the very
it
end.
has the frog with the hand in it, and they say, "Well, it was in the film."
Yeah, that's true.
I want to see a
That's-
regular cartoon. You know how like they did Inspector Clouseau?
Yes.
Yeah.
There should be a frogs cartoon.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be great.
Don't-
Man-eating frogs.
It's like, don't pull that crap with me. I want to see the man-eating frog.
Are you mad at me?
No.
Oh,
no.
okay.
It's that's just a general statement.
general.
Yeah, but it's
It's
like
okay.
that's when I first saw that, which was actually for me on the cover of Famous Monsters magazine.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
like, I have got to see this
Yeah.
film.
Yeah,
I-
totally.
Frog that's going to eat a human being.
yes,
Today,
frog.
today the pond, tomorrow the world.
Yeah.
Great tagline.
I
That's
think
a
there's-
great one-liner.
Yeah,
It is,
totally.
but I'm pretty sure there's some intermediate points between
But it's
the
not a
pond
No,
and
no,
the
it's
world.
pond right to the whole world.
Everyone worked on different films. The guy
Yeah,
who
it's
wrote
just-
that one-liner, that was an island. That wasn't a pond.
Right.
So it's like
Right.
nobody was connecting whoever was
Right,
working on
right.
that promo.
I've never been more angry at frogs than this moment.
Well, you know, we did.
Well, they just sit there and they just look big.
they should look. They
But-
should look
but-
big,
but
but not
in-
like Lepus
It was
big.
like, you know,
but
it
in
was-
frogs, it was like they were like the orchestrators. They,
Yeah.
they were
They were
kinda-
the brains
They
of the
were
outfit.
though. They kind of had all the other animal life.
Yeah.
They were kind of
Yeah.
like
They were the
behind
mafia
whole.
dons.
Yeah, they
we are the frogs.
yeah.
Listen to our instructions.
But what was really accurate about that in that film is frogs are an indicator of health of an area.
True.
Absolutely,
True.
because they soak up
tell us,
everything, right?
explain,
They
right?
soak up everything in the
Yeah.
environment.
Go all science on our asses.
But like you know, when the frogs are dying, those are some of your first signs that things are really, really bad. Your toxicity in the water is not good.
Right.
And so in this film, the frogs are there. They're not doing anything like the poster said they should do.
Right.
But they're there, so they're indicating all the other stuff that's out of whack. So that's where the film actually was kind of accurate.
Right, right.
You know, it's not completely accurate, but I mean, I wanted to find out who the animal wrangler was on that film.
There's a lot of them.
And I don't know if you noticed, but there was a ton of shots with the reptiles and snakes and all the stuff with the people in the shot.
Yeah, to get
Yeah,
they
yeah.
did.
I mean, that was beautiful. That's hard
Yeah.
to do.
I think
Snapping turtle.
I'm sure. Yeah, Ray Milland
That's
was probably
snapping.
haunted for years from frogs. After
You got the big brain there. Did he live much longer than that film? I think that film killed him.
He lived into the early '80s.
When they did the Academy Awards in memoriam, it was him from Frogs.
But you know how life gives you patterns and stuff like that? Just a
Yes.
small thing. My wife's a huge Columbo fan.
Oh, we all are.
yeah,
we all
yeah, yeah.
love.
Huge,
Yeah.
huge.
And so I bought her a DVD box of year one,
Okay.
Yeah.
but I bought it in UK. So we haven't been able to watch it. And we now have a multi...
Oh, yeah. So now you can
Multi-region.
finally do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we were watching it, showing the boys, you know, my two sons. Hi, guys. And
Because Ray Milland's in a couple episodes.
he's in the pilot.
Ah.
Oh, that's right.
And
yeah.
who directed the pilot?
Steven Spielberg.
Right.
Well, no,
Whatever happened to him?
But the pilot was
Ray Milland. Oh, Steven Spielberg.
yeah. But I thought he was in a later one though, because he's
Well, we've only made it to 2 of them.
Okay.
Yeah, they made a lot of them.
a
So
lot
I'll
of
bet
them.
he was in another.
Yeah, he's in one.
I don't know that for sure.
Strangely, though, he never played the murderer. He's in the one with Robert Culp as the murderer.
Yeah.
And he's in another one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, don't.
No, he is. In the second one, he actually plays the murderer. It's a greenhouse one.
Okay,
Yeah.
Larry,
Ooh, we should've
put
he's
that
not giving away Columbo
Okay.
because
Yeah, don't worry
you
about it.
see in the very beginning who the
Okay.
murderer
Yeah.
is.
Okay, so let me just ask, because this is great that we're touching base on frogs and Koyaanisqatsi and whatnot, but you made this carbonation.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about carbonation?
That's a great question.
Well, first of all, we were making a movie about climate change, right?
Yeah.
And so Al Gore's film, An Inconvenient Truth,
Yes.
Also a horror movie.
perfectly marketed as a horror film.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like perfect.
Right.
You don't need to make another film about the problem.
Right.
That film did
Right.
it. And
Right.
it was designed to scare you. The poster was really scary, the smokestack with the hurricane coming out of it.
Yeah.
Really well done. I wanted to know if there were solutions.
Right.
And so I was like, well, let's find out. So that's why I started making the film with our partners. So we spent 3 years filming the film, but I liked the name because it was funny, because I didn't want us to be taking ourselves too seriously. And the subject is so scary, talk about horror film,
Right.
that I wanted it to have as much comedy in it as possible, which is why Matt Weinhold has a writing credit on the film.
And also just like easily digestible for an audience. You know, like
Yeah.
you said, not to be like, oh, this is going to be too heavy and scary.
But
you
it's not,
And
let-
positive, too.
Look,
Positive.
and,
Yeah, positive.
and let's not bag on An Inconvenient Truth.
I'm not
it's a,
bagging on it at all.
It's a
No,
great
no.
film,
No
and
one's
it's
bagging on-
it's a great film, and it's not something that needs to be taken lightly. It's a serious subject.
It changed my life.
Yeah. So you're trying to do something which can look. Let's all kind of try to solve these problems.
Yeah, solutions, right? And so we wanted to make a film that was all solutions. And so the title doesn't say solutions. So we spent 3 years making the movie, and we spent 3 years writing the subtitle, the tagline. Read the tagline for me, Larry, would you?
A climate change solutions movie that doesn't even care if you believe in climate change.
Yeah. That's what I really love about it.
Right.
Because
Like,
it's such a divisive topic.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny. I've been really...
and it shouldn't be.
It shouldn't be. It used to not be. There's films from Shell Oil from the 80s talking about climate change.
Right.
Maggie Thatcher gave a speech to the UN in 1989 talking about climate change, and she says, listen, I'm a politician and I'm a chemist. I didn't know she was a chemist. Did you? Anybody?
No, I did
And
not.
she goes, and if you can get politicians to agree or scientists to agree on anything, you're far along down the road.
you're
and
onto
right at
something.
this point, 75% of scientists agree that humans are causing climate change.
Right.
Now, that was
was
back
in
then.
89.
Yeah.
Now it's
Right.
like at 98% or something
But see,
like that.
there's still people that point to, well, we've got the scientist over here that
Yeah.
says
It's
it's
all political now.
Right.
Well, that I was going to say
If the Earth is flat, then why
Yeah.
would there be climate change?
I want to go to the other side of the Earth
Yeah.
if it's flat,
Yeah, right.
because I like this side quite a bit.
Yeah.
What's the other side?
The underside.
Is it like one of
Ooh.
those vacuform maps? You know, where it's everything's in reverse.
I want to go to the edge. I want to stand on the edge and go, whoa.
On the other side, everybody has 2 belly buttons.
I like that.
Wait, nobody has. You guys don't have
okay.
I've seen it.
Carbon Nation.
Carbon Nation. So we spent 3 years working on that tagline.
Yes.
Because we wanted it to be solutions based. And really, what we realized making the film was there's a lot of people who've been snowed by the argument that climate change isn't real. But they're still good people, and they're still doing things that will solve climate change. So why aren't they being included? Why aren't they in the big
Right,
tent?
yeah.
Right, right.
And so we just decided to stay an inch above the argument.
Okay.
And the argument is constructed. It's the same argument they used with tobacco. You know, the science isn't conclusive. It's the exact same strategy, like by design. But all the oil companies know climate change is real. And in the 60s, Lyndon Johnson gave a speech about climate change. Hemo the Magnificent. Do you guys know that film?
Sure,
Do you know
yes.
the
You know
Bell
this, Sean.
Labs?
Oh, yeah.
The Bell Labs films
Yeah,
that you have
yes,
to watch,
yeah.
and they were
Yes.
always in 2 parts.
That's right, yeah.
Right? And so Hemo the Magnificent one was, there's a DVD out with that one and this other one called Goddess. It's about nature.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's Goddess something. And in that, there's a 3-4 minute thing about climate change. And that's a 1959 movie.
Really?
Yeah, so it's been known, and there was a scientist in the 1800s who was like, well, if we're putting all this CO2 up there and it's a greenhouse, we should be warming up by about 1980. at these rates. So it's no surprise. It's no secret.
Okay.
And that's how we start the movie. We're like, Venus is twice as far from the sun as Mercury. Mm-hmm. Yet it's a hell of a lot hotter, even though it's twice as far from the sun, because it's got CO2 at levels of like 700 ppm, parts per million.
Okay.
So there aren't any of the scantily clad
Yeah, what about the Venus women?
ladies?
The Venus women with like...
That's
Where
why
Abbott
they're
and
scantily
Costello
clad.
went to.
Yeah.
I mean,
Come
that's
on.
why they're scantily clad, because it's so hot there.
because it's so hot.
That makes sense.
That's where the
So
word
there are
hot
some
came
advantages
from for women. Venus, hot women.
Oh,
Now,
yeah, that's where it comes from.
This is science.
I learned a lot.
This
Well,
is science.
even just from the trailer, one of the things I got was that it's common sense. There's a lot of very basic logic, like why wouldn't you drive an electric car if it saved you so much per year on gasoline?
Right.
Yeah.
Simple,
Right,
basic.
right.
And
Yeah.
if assuming that climate change compounding and what it's doing to the earth over time is going to get more expensive, whether you believe in it or not, even if you look at the recent data, if we keep going in this direction, it's going to be completely untenable economically.
Just economics.
Right.
That's if you just look at the economics, it makes so much sense to clean up the situation as quickly as possible.
Common sense.
It makes more money. It
Right.
makes people more money
it's profitable.
if they're using less, if they have less waste.
One of the things I really enjoyed, and I always tell people, that's just such a little tiny tidbit that I didn't even think about until I saw your movie. And that is when it comes to buildings, the rooftops of buildings,
Right.
paint them white.
Yeah. Right.
Reflecting heat, and you're going to save on,
Everything.
everything in your building.
And you're going to make your neighbors save money because you're cooling off the neighborhood. Wow. It's
Incredible.
It's called
Such
the
a-
albedo effect.
And how much does that cost? Nothing?
Yeah.
It's white paint.
It's
You're
white
gonna
paint.
You're going to paint the roof anyway.
Right.
True.
So you're going to paint it black, which is a great album, or you're going to paint it white, which I don't even know if there's an album called Paint It White. Is
Paint
there?
it white. It's the,
Paint It
it's
White.
the one I'm working on right now. Yeah.
Paint It White. I'm thinking of a lot
Don't
of...
talk to my Fujiko figures.
But with that said, though, this is 2020.
Yeah.
Where
Can you
do
believe
things
it?
stand now, and is there enough progress in that direction?
Are you optimistic?
I mean, yeah, because
Yes. Yes.
okay.
Would it be nice if the United States government was pushing for clean energy
Yeah,
all the time
that'd be
and,
nice.
and,
That'd
and
be
good
good.
land use and things like that? Yeah,
Right,
it'd be
right.
pretty cool because we are supposed to be leaders.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. We're supposed to be.
Right now, we're not at a federal level, but at a state level, we're in California right now.
Yes. Mhm.
Right.
Right.
Yes.
Right. I didn't know if Monster Party had its own.
No. We're
We are a sovereign nation.
we're in the Hollywood area. We're
don't downplay it.
We're in Van
We're in
Nuys,
scenic Van Nuys.
it's on the outskirts of Hollywood. Okay?
right near
Yeah.
the airport.
Yeah.
yeah,
and-
Metropolitan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I enjoyed
We're
my
jet
drive
setters.
I
here.
hear a plane right now.
Yeah, that's how in it we are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No oxymoron there. This plane's supposed to be in this time. Is that a Starbucks cup on your... No, I'm joking. So the states are leaders. California itself, if all world governments had followed California's lead since the mid-'70s when Jerry Brown was governor first,
Right. Yes.
and he set up a department called the Department for Appropriate Research. How hippie does that sound?
Appropriate
Wow, hey man.
Okay.
But that's where energy efficiency came from. That's where refrigerators, like our refrigerators now use about probably 20% of the energy that they used in the 70s, but they're this much better. Like, would you want a 1970s fridge in your house, Larry?
no.
Of course you wouldn't. But the fridge now is using that much less energy. And LED lights, CFL lights, then LED lights, all this stuff came out of that. And all the regulations that push builders to make things more energy efficient. California, you got to have solar panels on homes that are built now, period.
Right.
End
Smog
of story.
checks. Smog checks.
Smog checks.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Those have been going on for a long time.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when I had my 1989 Honda Civic, it was difficult, but I'm glad they
Oh,
did
don't
have smog
Yeah.
checks.
Don't even go there. I had like a country Squire station wagon.
Wait, when you were a child living with your parents.
No. I had my car. No,
I don't want to
my-
hear this. Nope.
My car broke down, and I needed a car quickly.
From your mom.
No, not from my mom. A friend of mine had one, that country Squire station wagon,
Wood panel?
wood paneling, and the gas gauge didn't work. Someone had hauled trees or something in it because pine needles were everywhere. And I got it for $150.
Okay.
Wow.
All right.
And that car and smog checks. They weren't friends.
Right.
You called it
Did you
the
have to-
Earth Destroyer.
That was his license plate.
Yeah, as a hood ornament, I just had like a bleeding globe.
But now that I think about it, the Country Squire at a certain point was very punk rock. So that's how you were driving.
If
the car,
that's
right?
how you want to paint it, sure.
Yeah.
That's what I was doing.
You were Mr.
Funny you should say
Punk.
paint it, because our painter, when I was 14, had one of those, and he was very much punk rock. That's what I was thinking of. So that's why I gave you
Now,
that.
if I
you
had
go.
painted it white,
Yes. You could, there's your album.
there you go.
But anyway, so Peter, what you're saying is like the state that we're in and many
Yes.
other states have actually made great advances.
And are continuing to, and are leading. There's all sorts of mayors that have signed on to the Paris Accord, states that have signed on to the Paris Accord, the accord that the UN organized to get all the countries to agree that we're not going to let the world get more than 2 degrees centigrade warmer than it can.
Right.
And which is kind of ridiculous, because a bunch of people getting in a room in a conference saying we're not going to let that happen is
Right.
like,
Yeah.
But the people who are on the ground who care about this stuff are doing the things to help us get there. And the wrangling of scientists, the scientists that I'm working with, we're working on the land use piece. We're working on soil regeneration.
Really
soil
important.
what's soil regeneration?
Yeah.
So the idea is very simple. Nature knows what it's doing. Everyone agree with that
Nature
premise?
does its thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
And people trust nature. We found that in our research.
Except for plagues.
Well, actually, is it knowing what it's doing there too, though, in a way?
Well, that's true.
Yeah,
as
it's just not very
Bill
fun.
Hicks once said, human beings are a virus with shoes.
Actually, a guy from the EPA, when I made my film Garbage, said the same thing.
No.
Yeah. He said we are toxic to the earth.
Yeah.
Right.
All right.
That's
I
that's why,
didn't-
that's why
That's our show.
That's why the happening happened. Right?
Oh man, did I miss that one, guys?
We'll talk. We'll get to
Yeah,
that.
we'll
Okay,
to
we'll
it.
get to that.
It's
We'll
okay.
get happening.
So, regeneration
So
of the land.
The way we farm, especially industrial farming, chemical farming, really, really screws up the soils. We leave the soils exposed. So you see all those fields with plowed rows,
Yes.
with nothing growing on them.
Well, don't you plant seed?
Yeah, but then you'll just have it in those skinny rows,
Right.
with nothing growing in between.
Okay.
Any rainstorm washes that soil away. Any windstorm blows that soil away. And then what happens is you lose your soil.
No.
So when you plow soil, you're actually exposing all the microbes to the air, drying them out, heating them up, and basically cooking them.
But also, like with the cows grazing, the whole thing about farmers would just have cows graze in one spot all the time.
Yeah.
And
Just
then
send them out
you
so they could go.
destroyed that area. But now there's this.
This
thing
is
where
what you taught me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
where they migrate them. They move
Bison
them around.
biomimicry.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that gives the one section that was just grazed time to grow and replenish again.
Exactly.
And I mean,
Seems
it makes
logical.
perfectly logical
Yeah.
sense. But for so long, they didn't do it that way, right?
Because they didn't know,
right.
right? And that's okay. That's an important thing to remember. It's like, it's okay that folks didn't know this.
Right.
It's okay that when fertilizer showed up in the 40s, it made your plants grow faster.
Right.
Why wouldn't you use it?
Right.
Right.
Right? It makes sense. You didn't know it was killing the microbes in your soil that was actually the engine for your entire operation of your farm.
Right. Right.
Farmers call themselves producers, and they
Yeah.
call the farm an operation. I just love both of those things. So here we are in Hollywood. We're all working on films or wanting to work on films, trying, all that stuff.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
produce.
yeah. Go on.
And they produce. And I just like the fact
They're,
that I'm
they're
making
producing
movies.
a product.
I'm making
Yeah.
movies about farmers, and we both call ourselves producers.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of cool.
In the farming industry, how much of the message that you've been getting out there has caught on? Because you've interviewed farmers who are actively working on these new systems,
Yeah.
Yep.
who've embraced them.
Yep.
And who have had great results. Too.
Right.
Yep.
And also have gotten a lot of pushback, too, from
Yep.
other farmers.
Sometimes it's very interesting what's happening.
Do you know what the percentages of the farmers who've caught on?
Yeah, so regenerative agriculture is kind of the label that works. I wish I could think of a word for regenerative that was like one syllable, make it a quick, easy thing to hear and understand, but I haven't figured it out yet.
Yeah.
Restorative, but that's the same exact amount of syllables.
We're
Come
not
on,
going to
Matt.
solve this tonight.
Okay.
After a few more drinks, maybe. Something.
No,
What if we call it?
I think Matt will solve it. He is the wordsmith.
Oh, yeah.
You are, man. And so it's very small, right? But it's growing, and our job, the team that I'm working with, the scientists, and I'm sort of the communicator for the team, is to just keep getting the word out, and to also do the science to show that this adaptive multi-paddock grazing, AMP grazing, that mimics the way bisons move across the Great Plains, and so they hit a small area, and then they go off that area, and then the area they hit with their manure and their hooves gets to rest. And it's that heavy hit and rest, that pulse, that nature actually uses. That's the way nature wants it to be.
So interesting.
And so they're emulating that in a small farm. You can have a 40-acre farm.
So the bison knew what they were doing.
The bison, nature knows what it's doing.
Yeah, right.
Right? It's a whole system.
So here's my question, like so many things in humanity and society, is it going to not be until things are so dire and bad and dangerous and desperate, and that's when suddenly we're going to, I guess we should do something about this now, like full force?
There is a thing. You could make that case. That people wait to the last minute. What would Churchill say about Americans? They do the right thing, but they...
I think that... I don't know.
No, I was going right with you, man. Anyway, it's like Americans will do the right thing after they try everything else first. Something like that.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah. And...
That's a mankind thing, though.
It's a mankind thing.
most
Like,
part.
Like, for example, if you're expanding your city and they won't put a new... a traffic light up, green, yellow, red.
Until there are 17 accidents.
No, until people have died in that intersection.
Right.
Awesome.
Like, that's a thing.
Yeah.
That's a city planning thing.
Wait till we get 10 or 12 deaths.
Well, here's the thing that always gets me, especially as a science fiction. We all love science fiction and fantasy and speculative fiction and looking at what the world is going to be in the future. And, I think we're all, for the most part, Star Trek fans.
Most of us here.
Yeah. And, one of the things that we like, what, you don't like Star Trek?
I'm all right with Star Trek.
Wow.
Thank you.
Star Wars more?
Rogue One,
No, that's a good movie.
that's the best one.
I think you're right.
that's a good one.
I think you're right.
Yes.
Yeah, it's very good.
It was
I think
the
I
best
agree
one.
with you.
Good, yeah.
I think I agree with
But-
you.
But I like
Mandalorian's
Empire 2. Which one?
good. Mandalorian,
Mandalorian's fun.
Ooh, I
the
missed
series.
the TV series.
You have to watch it. But anyway,
But you have a point.
the point is,
I'm waiting for the damn point.
That's how I deal with interruptions.
Yeah, well,
I
look,
integrate it.
I
You
deal with
interrupted yourself.
See, look at I can't help it, Larry.
You can't help it. You can't freaking help it. What's with you?
I don't know.
I'm like banging my head against the
Larry,
wall.
help
him.
me.
Well, what is your point?
Okay, my point is. See, I never thought eco horror would be so much fun. Now,
Well, it
in
did take
Star
you 6
Trek-
years to get me on the show.
in Star
Star
Trek,
Trek.
you have a lot of these problems solved. And so
Right.
the idea of I get to this place in my mind where people, talk about, coal and oil and, their jobs that are connected.
Mm-hmm.
And like ultimately everybody's got to realize the fact that can't last. It's like us going back to steam or,
Well, no, steam is what we still use.
Well, but I mean, like in the way that we used it back then.
The way you're going through the resources.
You're thinking of
so,
steampunk and all that stuff.
Right. Okay. Anyway,
You're thinking of Steamboat Willie.
that's what I am. Yes. You know what? I hearken back to a day when animated mice ruled the seas.
Well, guess what? They're ruling now.
yeah.
They own Star Wars.
It's true.
But what I'm saying is the fact that all these technologies that are dirty,
Yep.
that we have options now. They're not just
We're
science fiction.
getting options now. It's
That-
not like
that are
we're just- We're getting options
Well,
now.
no, but what I'm
we're
saying
in the
is-
transition now.
But it's obvious that that's the way everything is heading. And so instead of trying to do everything you can to kind of hold on to these antiquated power systems,
Yeah.
why wouldn't you put everything toward inventing the new one that's clean, that's economical?
But like everything, change is difficult for people. Like you talk about farmers who generations
Change
of
is difficult
farmers.
for me.
My dad did it this way. My grandfather did it this way. Like,
Yeah.
why do I have to
and this is
change?
what you know, and this is how you make
yeah. I
money.
mean, that's-
and,
yeah.
and
there's-
change is scary.
And it is. And with the farmers, what I'm starting to realize, especially with our science, is the perceived risk of change is in the mind, right? But the real risk is not changing because our
Right,
soils are
right.
dying.
Right.
This is a real fun fact. The
Oh, no.
group in the U.S. that has the highest rate of suicide is farmers.
Really?
That should not be.
Wow.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and they're in
Why?
such crazy debt.
It's
The
because
whole
of
industrial farming complex
yeah.
creates so much debt for the farmers. They'll never get out of it. But when we find these farmers that are starting with nature and not fighting nature, they're getting themselves out of debt.
Right.
They're
It just
happier
takes
people.
That time, take the education to
Just
for the options.
You know what? Your cows can be the fertilizer. You don't need to put fertilizer on the ground.
Right.
When your cows are healthy on a healthy system, you don't give them as much medicine. You save money there. You don't
Right,
have to
right.
feed them hay as much. You know what? You don't even have to grow hay as much because you're getting that much more production out of your field the way it's supposed to be.
Just let nature do it.
Nature.
Yeah, nature.
Nature
Goes
really
back to
has.
nature.
In all these films that we're talking about today, it's all really man screwing with nature.
Right.
Okay, well,
or,
this is
or
a-
nature striking back. That's a good segue.
Yes,
'cause
that's a
was
good
gonna say,
segue.
Back.
Hollywood through the decades, some
Well,
earlier
it's
films.
pretty much from the 60s and 70s on.
There's some though from
Are
the
there-
50s or
All right, you
mostly
can-
60s.
all right,
and
wait,
70s.
I wanna
the
hear.
nuclear stuff. The
You got
nuclear
one-
stuff.
Well, yeah,
You-
well, I mean, like if you look at the original, the original Godzilla,
Yes.
in some ways is an equal
Yeah,
horror
sure.
because
Sure.
it's us using atomic energy and atomic bombs, and that bonds something horrible.
Correct me
You
if
know.
I'm wrong.
Correct.
But the original Godzilla, he was atomic, but also he had been sort of encased and was released by atomic bombs and then changed as well, right? So it wasn't just he was also a creature that wasn't entirely created by
No.
atomic power,
Not,
right?
sort of a
not
Skull
totally.
Island?
It was something that existed.
Right.
That was
It was
altered.
altered.
Got it.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
How was he? Was he grown? Or was he,
Everything.
And the atomic,
everything.
the atomic breath and all that,
yeah.
obviously,
Right,
I'm
right.
sure.
The atomic energy of the bomb that was released created or like manifested itself into this creature, which made him grow and have the atomic breath. He's an extension of the atomic.
And the film was
power.
about the
Yeah.
horrors of atomic bombs.
Yeah.
And that
atomic
first
radiation.
Godzilla movie
It's serious.
is terrifying.
Yeah.
Like especially if you
Especially
see
the Japanese
Gojira,
version.
you know, the original Japanese version without Raymond Burr. That's a scary movie.
I mean,
and that was made when people who had survived Nagasaki and Hiroshima were
not
alive.
too long after.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
It came out in 1954 in
Right.
Japan, and it proved to be such a huge success. American International saw that, and that's when 2 years later, it's in the United States with the new footage of Raymond
Right.
Burr,
Yeah.
and then
Right.
it opened itself to a whole new audience.
And of course, the later films changed, and it didn't become about that at all. You know, it just became. But
that was the starter.
But that was that germ of an idea of atomic bomb and radiation and the horrors of that. Probably like one of the first Nature Strikes Back film, though, probably was The Birds, right, in 1963. I mean, full out nature.
Certainly,
You know,
mass audience, popular
yeah,
film.
Right.
yeah.
I'm trying to figure out the birds.
You know, it's funny you should say that because I had an issue, and I said one of the things I thought make it great is if we found out why the birds acted the way they did. And I
Bingo.
think I was attacked because by these guys
By the
like
birds?
No, by these guys saying, why do you need to find out why the birds were attacking? I said, well, it would have been cool.
I still think that. I still think you should
No,
not have an
no.
explanation.
Okay, well, I
Was
have
it-
the same
draw your
points.
own conclusions.
Was
to
it someone threw?
She
some-
doesn't know why, so that's scary if you don't know why, right? But I'm curious because I want to know what they were thinking. Why are these birds attacking this?
Well, but see,
Okay, all
it
right.
gets you into the superstition thing, and the thing that gets me is she's this unique lady. She comes in this town. No one knows who this gal is, and when the birds start attacking, one person says, "It's you. It's got to be you." You know, and that
Right.
whole thing of jumping on that bandwagon. Don't shake your head.
No,
at
no.
me.
I'm laughing at the people in that town that
Yeah.
like that's just
Yeah, yeah.
typical humanity of like
Because-
the stranger, it must be somehow her.
You're a
because-
sharp, sophisticated man, and you'd never go. Well, it must
look at me.
It must be the stranger that's doing this.
But you could say the same.
Who's that guy in the Monster Party T-shirt wearing an ascot?
But you could say the same. You could say the same thing about frogs. Was the same idea. It's just suddenly with no explanation.
No, the frogs one's more clear.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
No, it's
Basically,
true.
they got their toxic thing going
That's
on.
right.
Yeah.
Poisoning.
But they- but
Wrong,
But
Sean.
it's still nature deciding at that time. Okay, we're gonna
But
just.
that's why I want to know
Fighting
about the
back.
because I don't know
well,
what
and,
happened.
and the birds, right? In the birds, there's no overt.
Are
kind
they
of like,
retaliating?
You don't see like Rod Taylor, throwing pesticide in the ocean or something.
Exactly.
It's, right.
Now,
Right.
I recently,
So are the
I'm sorry, I recently read a quote from Hitchcock, and I'm paraphrasing, but it had to do with
A recent quote from Hitchcock.
He recently read it.
I recently read it.
You can read books of dead people.
I just have to make sure.
He reads of dead people.
I got to make sure.
No, it's the new Taschen Hitchcock book, which is great. I got it as a Christmas present. It's
Ooh,
awesome. And
what a great publisher.
I went right to that chapter because I wanted to know more about it. And he was quoted, and I'm paraphrasing, as saying he just wanted to do a what if nature ran amok? What would happen? What would it look like? He wasn't necessarily interested in giving a reason. He just wanted to dramatize it and portray it.
Got it.
But the original story too, which I
Definitely.
have not read.
Right.
It's like in the early 50s. It was a book, right?
Daphne
right.
du Maurier.
Right.
Yeah.
Did he specify or maybe
a good
clarify
question.
a little bit more of why it was happening in the book, in the story, in the book?
don't
Because
know
I have
that.
not read it.
Gosh, if only we could read. If only we knew how to read.
I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah.
man.
But yeah, so I don't know if there was.
I only read steam-powered books.
You know, the funny thing is, I have one of those Alfred Hitchcock digests, one of those old little magazines that has the
That
birds
story.
in it, and I
Right.
still haven't read the thing.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm going back to what Matt said earlier about Steamboat Willie. Is there an environmental problem going on in that film? Is there any flooding? Is there any damming of the river?
I don't know. I have to
No.
watch that. again.
No,
know.
it's
know.
Mickey
I wa-
and Minnie going down
I want to look at
the
it
river.
Again. I want to see if, in hindsight,
Nobody asks why these mice can talk, why they're wearing shorts.
Yeah, it's true.
You know, like
horrifying.
that's a terror. When you
know
really
what?
think
At least
about
they're
it,
wearing shorts.
it's horrifying.
See, here's the funny thing.
Porky
You're saying,
Pig
why
ain't wearing shorts.
Why doesn't anyone in this animated cartoon ask why the mouse is wearing shorts? You know why? Because the cow is wearing a dress. Because the monkey is wearing a
okay.
suit.
All you-
Because
all you
in
had to
that
do was
world,
explain it.
No, all because in that world, in that Steamboat Willie world, they're all wearing clothing. That's
So it's like
why.
Planet of the Apes.
Okay,
well,
sure.
I'm going to bring in that to what we were just talking about. Planet of the Apes,
Okay, go.
Godzilla, same problem.
Go for it.
It's a nuke. It's a nuclear explosion. That's what.
Post-nuclear.
Right.
It's
True,
it's
true, right.
Like those are
Right.
really there's like two types of nuclear problems, and this is where the nuclear industry is its own worst enemy. Is that there's nuclear bombs and then there's nuclear energy.
Right?
Now these
They're
are two,
very very different.
I was going to say these are two different things.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so you have sort of two genres.
Right.
Two subgenres of that. You've got China
You have
Syndrome.
Godzilla or China Syndrome. Right.
Right.
What was the first one you were
Yes.
going to say?
No, Godzilla is the horror of the bomb. And
Right.
China Syndrome is the nuclear power
Or like
plant.
the day after, or
And-
something
Right,
like
yeah.
that, where it's a nuclear holocaust,
Chernobyl.
post-apocalyptic Chernobyl.
Actually,
right.
Chernobyl
So
was a horror
That's a
film.
That's
Yes.
a great.
But can you
show.
say when someone throws out the phrase the China Syndrome, what is that?
That's explained very well in the movie that I watched with my wife just the other night.
cool.
It's when basically you have the nuclear rods doing their thing,
The energy.
producing heat
Yes.
that then powers heats up
steam.
water,
Sure.
which spins the turbine.
Right,
so we
right,
are still
right.
using
Steam.
steam. That's why I was saying that.
This is in a nuclear
Okay,
power
God.
plant.
But when the rods are actually pushed up from the water, which is I don't even know why that's even possible, they can overheat. Or if
Right.
the water goes down.
Yes.
Right.
And so in China Syndrome, their meters are saying there's too much water, and so they're releasing all the water, and then he knocks it and realizes, oh, it's actually broken. There's too little water, and they can't get it to fill back up again.
So the meters were to blame.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is the nuclear industry's problem because that kind of stuff really does happen. But
scary.
so when the rods start melting,
Well, they get so
They don't
hot.
stop.
They get so hot that they start to melt through the ground.
and they'll keep
And they'll
going
keep-
in theory to the center of the earth and then onto China.
Onto China, yes.
If you're on the opposite side of the flat.
Sure.
Well, how's that work if it's a flat Earth?
Okay. Now,
It goes down to the table that's holding the Earth.
To the table.
now
Yeah.
Yes.
for the Chernobyl series,
Yeah.
which was on HBO,
Which
was
I haven't seen it, but I heard it's
it's
good.
Really good.
It's
You haven't seen it?
unbelievable. It is unbelievable. And yes, as you're watching it, you're thinking that I am watching a horror series because what you don't realize is when this explosion happened, all these people just had to react. It's like, we've got a fire. We got to go in here and put it out. And as they're doing that, they don't realize, or some do realize, that you're getting close to this nuclear or the atomic energy, which isn't going to kill you that moment. But as you get away, it slowly but surely starts to basically...
Well, it killed that one fireman pretty quickly.
Yeah, it did. It
Yeah,
did. But
yeah,
it's like
yeah.
it starts to kill your body, and your
Yeah.
body starts shutting down. And some of the stuff and the makeup effects in this
Yeah.
were absolutely horrifying.
Horrific,
Stuff that Matt, stuff that I had never seen. But it
You know
gives
what?
you a really good example of, well, this is what it does. And then when you're left, and for listeners, once you die, it's like, oh, well, your body, we bury you. No, because your body is now atomic.
gee,
It's atomic. And so what they do is they have to put you in a metal coffin, lead coffin, put you in the ground and pour cement in it. I mean, it's like, oh my gosh.
So it's the end of the Walking Dead films, really, because you can't come out of the grave anymore. So it's sort of killing that whole
That's
thing.
cool. I like that.
But
super powered, because like always in movies, atomic energy gives you like these new powers and everything. So maybe these atomic powered zombies that crack out of the lead.
And then they could fly in the air and then land in that superhero land. Okay.
Well, I mean, this is all kind of, funny yuck thing, but it's like the series is really great. The majority of the characters are based on real people, real things that were said, the real problems that they had.
Yep.
They had to condense some characters into like one or two to make it move along.
Do that.
Right.
But it's interesting when even with science, the most scientific person, things can still
Things go wrong.
Right, but there's no science that goes wrong in Chernobyl. What happened was
man going wrong.
Yeah, well, they had a procedure.
Yeah.
They had a final test that they hadn't done, and this guy demands they do the test when they're not actually ready to do the test.
They're not ready to do the test.
And then what happens with the government is they say, well, this can't happen in one of our units, so therefore it's not happening, which is very much like the government of Florida saying climate change is not real.
Right.
Yet Miami floods in sunny days because the ocean's rising.
Right.
It's just this crazy kind of
Wow.
the government's decreeing, but nature's saying, you're wrong.
Yeah.
Right? And it's exactly the same thing in Chernobyl. Government of Florida, North Carolina, you can't say climate change in any kind of legislation or anything like that.
That's true.
Really?
And the current orange fellow in the White House is created a situation where you can't use science in making decisions about a lot of decisions. Like at the EPA, they're kicking scientists out.
Oh, isn't that wonderful?
Yeah, it's so the back to that federal thing. We have a federal problem, but we have a lot of heroic city and state people.
Right.
Yeah.
One of the films that I think all of us have on our lists when it comes to these type of films, and I think it's sort of
I supposed to bring
the
a list?
gold standard, and I think it's one of your favorites too, Peter, is Soylent Green.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Soylent
Absolutely.
Green.
Because Soylent Green is one of those films.
And I saw it when it came out when I was a kid.
Yeah.
It's just,
just
a lot of these films I saw in the theater.
Yeah,
This came
me
out
too.
in 1973, directed by Richard Flesher, who also had done 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. He had done The Vikings. I mean, he was a really great director. And then you had Charlton Heston playing the
is
star.
Phenomenal.
He's great. He's so good.
I got so twisted by his whole
Thorn.
NRA stance that I forgot really how great an actor he
He's
is.
a great
yeah, he's
actor.
great.
He's a great actor.
Amazing voice.
Yes.
And playing that anti-hero who
Yeah.
becomes the hero.
Right.
Right.
And-
Was he antsy?
Well, he was anti in the sense of the
he's breaking the law?
He's breaking the law all the
yeah.
time.
But you
He's
see-
not. He's not a classical hero.
He doesn't go by the rules.
And for listeners also,
Yeah.
there's another great character actor in there, Edward G. Robinson,
is
which
so
is
awesome.
His last
This
role.
was his last role.
Yeah.
And we have talked about it on previous shows. But
Right.
what is cool about Charlton Heston, I know some people feel like, oh, he's an overactor. Matt's absolutely right.
I love him.
He's like a police officer.
Yeah.
Okay, that needs to try to solve a crime. And as you start to go down to as to why, and you start to ask all these questions, and it leads you down a certain path, and then you start to find out the truth
Yeah,
of
and
why things are the way they are. And it's an environment in the movie where it takes place. And there's scenes in there that remind me of current day Australia. It's hot.
Yeah,
it's
it's like-
dry. The air in some of the scenes, it's like
green.
It's kind of it's a dark color. It's like
No,
there's
no, it's-
dirt in the air.
It's green.
And why do you think that it's green,
It's
Peter?
green, in my opinion, because people are breathing the smoke from the Soylent Green plant. I think you're breathing.
How do you like that?
You're breathing the people.
Ooh, yeah, I like that.
That's pretty good, huh?
yeah.
He should write fan fiction.
But anyway, here you're living in a world where, it's like the idea of having fresh strawberries. Well, we don't really have that. But the society.
Strawberry jam cost $150.
The
Jam,
society
yeah.
has been able to figure out ways to manufacture like processed food. Somehow it's a processed food.
Everything is processed.
We don't necessarily know where it is, where it came from, or they're saying, oh, it's plankton, oh, it's this, or it's that. But we don't actually know 100%. And also, the population has
We
gotten
don't know. We don't know. Like we believe them.
Yeah, exactly.
right.
Exactly. The population's gotten so big.
New York is 40 million people.
And there
Yeah.
are people.
Yeah.
There are people like living on the streets, kind of sleeping on stairways. and-
Yeah.
I tell you what, I used to live in LA. I lived here from 82 to 09. Went back home to Kentucky in 09, then I'm in Arizona now. I am staying in Hollywood on this trip, and I am blown away by all the tents on all the sidewalks.
Yeah.
It's not just
insane.
under the overpasses
No,
like it used
now
to
it's
be, like the
everywhere.
good old days.
Hollywood, it's everywhere.
It's
Right, yeah.
on every sidewalk, and that is exactly what's in this movie.
Yeah.
I know, you're right.
Right.
You're right.
I mean, it's exactly, and the movie is 2022. The year is 2022.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
we're
it's
just
gonna
2
be-
years
We
off.
have 2 years to fix it.
Soylent Green's going to be in the Ralphs, in the local Ralphs.
like
pretty
the-
soon.
But my question is,
They're talking about,
does it taste good?
and in the movie,
Yeah.
in the movie at the
important
very
thing.
beginning, they're talking about we're hot now because of the greenhouse effect.
Yes, yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Right.
in
So,
the movie.
So global warming is happening in 2022, dead on.
Yeah, right.
I love that fact that it's Edward G. Robinson riding his bike to charge the batteries.
Yeah.
Right.
Like that's a thing.
Sure.
Yeah,
there
yeah.
are there are gyms that are using that power. I think Richard Branson's doing that.
That's a
And
great idea, by the way.
It is.
Yeah. Power up every single gym.
Just think if you had to ride a bike to watch a movie,
Right?
right?
Yeah, right.
you could set that up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that if I want to watch a basketball game, I have to ride my bike to power up the TV. It's a little Gilligan's Island like, but it could be.
Yeah, that's all right, though.
Plus,
good.
everybody would be in better shape.
Sure.
true.
Sure.
I was wondering, the population's so overburdened, and this was 1974, right?
Yes.
So Roe v. Wade was 73.
Oh, I'm sorry. So 73. It was 73.
So this is right when Roe v. Wade
yes.
happened in the Supreme Court. And population control, was this a statement? I mean, I might be way off.
I don't know.
But is this a
if that
statement
was-
about birth control?
Well, I will say this: there is a
Maybe a little bit. I think there's something in there.
I think there's a sequence in there to suggest in a way that because there are so many people that life is cheap, because when you had so many people and people were, it's like you had giant crowds of people, how do you control it? You bring out the scoops.
Right.
These
Right,
giant I
Right.
mean, we laugh,
my
but
gosh.
it's actually a very scary scene to me. It's these giant, like almost like scooping dump trucks that come in, throw their thing down and scoop up people and toss them
bulldozers.
into the back bulldozers.
Bulldozers.
And they just keep going, and you can see the controls there. Okay, just look at the people as like they're ants or whatever it is. Scoop them up. Got to clear the streets. Got to clear the street. And sometimes when you're doing it, you're not paying attention. There may be someone that you squish or break a leg or whatever. Doesn't matter. You keep on going. And-
Wasn't the assassin squished?
Yes.
Yes.
There's a guy.
Yes.
We don't want to give too many
I don't
spoilers,
want to. Yeah,
but
yeah.
Oh, we don't?
No, but it's
That's
okay.
all right.
I would.
Sorry.
I would.
1973.
I would suggest
give people time?
if you haven't seen it,
Or
I think
see it again.
It's like-
sure it is a very 70s.
I watch
I
it
like
all
the
the
touchstone for like, and it's a perfect eco horror. I mean, it's just very prophetic. It's very accurate in a lot of ways.
and holds up.
But there's
Yeah, it
still
really
more
does.
real stuff. So you got the climate change happening, right?
Right.
Farms are incredibly unproductive.
right.
Yes.
Seas dying.
We're doing that now.
Yeah.
Seas
Right.
dying. We're doing that now. But the farms are like fortresses. The way they were like
Yes.
guarded like fortresses. And
Right.
I thought,
And there's like 3 trees and a.
right. And
Right.
and like all good land has to be guarded because the people are too much like a virus.
Right.
But I wanted to ask you guys.
Go.
You remember the party? All the furniture ladies.
Yes.
Yes, yeah.
What music is being played?
Ooh.
I do not know.
It's the Shaft soundtrack redone to
Wow.
be cool and groovy.
Really?
for the
Is
ladies
it
to dance
really?
to.
Because
Wow.
they were both MGM movies. So they didn't have to pay for the
That's
rights.
funny.
Nice.
That's funny.
I will say this
I was
one.
like, what's that? Shaft?
You know what's kind of neat?
And then
kind of,
That Soylent Green is a bad, tasty cookie.
Watch your mouth.
there's a sequence when you first go into this very expensive apartment complex.
Right.
Yeah.
And the character is playing
Lee Taylor
a
Young.
video game.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
It's very much like Asteroids.
Yes.
Yes, but the shape of the game was very like futuristic. It was not a straight box
Yep.
like what you would normally go to at your local
Right.
arcade.
Right.
It was shapely, and the funny thing is, There was a
So was she.
well, there was a pinball fix-it place up in Northern California that I would go to on a regular basis, and he repaired all kinds of machines, and he had one of these things.
Did he?
So it was like a real
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, it was a real
yeah, it was a
thing.
real game, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't
it was a
realize
real
that.
game.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they were made out of fiberglass. They were made out of fiberglass.
But that was what was so weird about that film, that they chose not to go futuristic in any place but the rich
The
person's
luxury,
apartment.
right? The luxuries.
And
of
I
the
thought that
rich.
was a misstep myself.
No, see, I think that even in the rich person's apartment, everything was slowing down. You know, the Earth was dying. I think science was dying. I think everything was kind
So
of
there's only
dying.
a few
so that
luxury
was,
items
There was
that
like
were
a
left.
couple people that like, hey, we
still have
we have this video game, and this is the only one, and it's the last one.
Right, that I could see. Yeah.
Also-
And maybe it's also saying there's always going to be that 1%.
Right.
right.
And I also
Yeah,
think
you
that
know,
it works. That movie works too to this day because it's an alternate future. This is where everything stopped.
right.
Right. But the scary thing is, and the reason we're doing this particular monster party is it's not that alternate in a way.
Well, no.
Right,
I mean,
right.
there's some real grounded problems that are happening.
I have to say this though about that movie: the scene where they have the meal.
Edward G. Robinson.
Yeah,
with
they
the
got
steak.
they got all the food. They
From
stole.
he stole it from there's this wealthy character that gets killed. So Thorne, Charlton Heston, has to go in to do an investigation. But as he's doing it, he sees this.
Oh, yeah, he's
the little bits of food,
ransacking
a
the
little
place.
bar of soap, a little things, because he's still one of the people out
Yeah.
there.
So this is his chance. You know?
So he gets back to his home where he lives with the man who helps do the research for him.
Right.
Saul,
And they have this meal.
Yeah.
and they have booze. They have vegetables. They have beef.
A little piece of meat.
This piece of beef, and they make it into a stew, and they have an apple, and all these things that would just be unheard of if you were just trying to buy groceries in your little town and you were
Right.
just a regular Joe.
Right.
And they make this meal, and that scene and then the strawberry jam scene, both of those scenes made me appreciate food so much.
Yeah.
When they're just
Savoring,
crunching on the
savoring.
lettuce. And at first, Thorne's kind of like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But it really made me. I almost feel like every meal now I'm
but you haven't-
savoring.
But I'm filming all these farmers, right?
Yeah.
And they feed me in their kitchen. Oh. And you haven't had salami until you've had salami from the animal that guy produced, and the
Wow,
salami's made
yeah.
by his friend down the road.
Oh my God, yeah.
And
I
the
can only
cheese
imagine.
is from the cows over there.
Oh man,
And the bread's from a friend of theirs who they
Yeah.
they trade salami with the bread.
don't
I mean,
talk to me about trading salamis. Okay? Come on.
You don't trade them.
Oh, I see how you work. I got my salami. I'm done.
The way they're treating women.
That's another thing too.
Yeah.
And it's, I mean, they call women furniture in these rich places,
Well-
right?
well-
and a woman comes with the apartment.
house. Right.
That's in this particular
social strata.
in this
in that level.
environment,
Right.
at this particular living location,
Right.
Your apartment or whatever this wealthy, expensive place comes with a lady.
Now, does that mean that all men aren't married?
No, it does not.
Okay.
And you can choose. You
Right.
can choose what you want.
Yeah.
And if you don't like this particular woman who comes with the place, then you can choose another one. And they nickname these characters furniture
Yeah.
because they're part of the apartment.
Yeah, no,
And then
no.
Thorne kind of steps in it a little bit when he says to Cheryl, "You're a hell of a piece of furniture," and she says, "Don't call me that."
Right.
Right.
After
Because
they
it's-
made love and had a night together.
yeah,
and
Well,
all
it's
that
it's
stuff.
because the wealthy guy can call me that,
Right.
but you and I were something
Yeah,
else
we gotta
here.
really-
Yeah, she
Don't-
actually wants to run off with it.
Yeah, and he gets it. He gets it. When she
Right,
said,
right.
it's like I'm sure that this social structure is just the way things are so ingrained in him that he didn't think twice.
Yeah.
Doesn't make it right, but
I wanted to ask you guys another thing. In that film, Brock Peters is his
boss.
His
Oh,
boss,
yeah.
right?
Brock
Yes.
Peters.
And that,
he used to do trailers. He was the voiceover trailers too.
Yeah,
in
yeah.
the '70s. Yeah, he's got that great.
he's
voice.
Cisco's dad, too, in Deep Space Nine.
That's right. Oh yeah. Oh.
and that idea of the black boss in the cop shop. Is that trope, right?
Yeah.
Is that like starting right here?
That I think
Might have-
mid '70s. I think it kind of was starting, and by the late '60s,
I think around that time there was a thrust to integrate things
Right, but is
more.
this the time? I'm wondering because I don't remember it before this. There's a ton of it after it.
Yeah,
maybe
I'm
when
not
it was
sure.
just hitting its peak, maybe. I mean, yeah, and later in TV shows you had that a lot. I think maybe like late 60s, early 70s.
Okay.
Kind of started to see it.
Because you still have a lot of blaxploitation films happening
Yes.
right
Oh,
now.
yeah.
That is true.
Totally.
Yes.
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
So I was just wondering. That was just a side thought, but
Well, there's
By the way, just to throw this out there, and it has nothing to do with eco horror, but Dolomite is my name.
I finally saw
It's
it.
so friggin' good.
It's really good.
See it.
It's great.
Okay.
it's on Netflix.
I'm back.
And then one last point on Soylent Green. Are we going too long?
No,
no.
I'm just
No.
this stuff that just stuck out to
Because
me.
this is stuff we've never really got into. That
Yeah,
much.
yeah,
Right,
yeah.
right, right.
Yeah, the
So-
nuts and bolts of it.
So basically, Soylent controls the food supply for half the planet.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
We're
the
going
company.
that way. And so you've got Bayer Monsanto's now one company.
True. Yes, yeah.
Got Pioneer Seeds, Syngenta. And
Yeah.
then, like, there's this whole thing going on with, do you sell a company to another country that produces your food? So Monsanto just got sold to a German company. So now a German company controls an enormous amount of food production in the United States.
I did not know that.
And another bunch of other countries, too.
Right.
Smithfield is a meat company, pork mainly.
yeah.
I'm pretty sure they produce other meat products as well. The Chinese bought it under the Obama administration. And a lot of people are like, are you sure you want to sell another country such a huge piece of our food security?
Right.
Yeah.
And so that's what's happening right now. So the Soylent owning, it's happening.
But let me ask you something. If you're a farmer
Yeah.
and you've signed this deal with Monsanto, how do you extricate yourself? Does it require
You just stop
to get-
using the product.
Just stop using the product? Because I know that they have this proprietary
if
use of all.
You can grow, if you buy a Monsanto seed, you can use it that season. There was a lawsuit where someone had Monsanto seeds,
Right.
pollen, seeds blew into another neighbor's farm. And he's like, I didn't buy it, so I'm just going to let it grow. Monsanto sued that guy, and they won.
Oh my God! Really?
Yeah. Yeah, so that's where things are,
guys.
but it's changing now. I mean, these are
And then
horror films.
Roundup.
Well, that's where I was going.
Oh man, that
That's where I was
Roundup
going.
weed killer stuff.
It's called glyphosate.
And anybody who tried to sell that stuff,
Weren't you in a commercial for that?
how dare you?
Yeah, but it's just a little small applicator. Matt?
I am an actor.
Look. Before we jump down Matt's throat, here,
I'm not jumping down
I
Matt's
just
throat.
want to say, look, he's a working actor. We talked about it. He's a working actor. He's not making this stuff.
Why do you hate the Earth?
I don't know. Sometimes I just gotta lash out.
I think we've all worked on productions that we
Oh yeah.
might not have
Who owns
supported.
this? yeah, right. Yeah.
What did I work on once? I worked on a commercial for a jog bra, but that was kind of fun.
A what?
Jog bra. That was the brand.
Jog bra?
Jog, running.
What's wrong with
jog,
that?
Bra. No, that was actually kind of fun.
Yeah.
But I mean, they really kept them together.
Like-
Was that your attempt to try to make me feel better about selling the poison from Monsanto?
So it's like,
Look,
so it's like anti-jiggle technology.
Okay, all right. Now that's great, but the point that you're trying to make is
It's a
how
couple of
you
points.
have
there are real horror
food-
films
yes,
happening now.
Food producers, or it's like companies. These large companies are buying up a lot of these farms, and now they.
No. The farmers have to use the large company's products.
I see.
Yes.
Okay.
Don't-
Get
don't they-
themselves
do
in
they
a lot
ref-
of debt.
Do they reference? I can't remember. Don't they reference in Soylent Green the other colors like Soylent
Yeah.
Orange?
Yes.
Soylent
Yes.
Orange
Something?
and
Yeah.
Soylent Orange is the main product during the movie.
Right,
Soylent
okay.
Green's
Is
coming
the
up
new
as
one.
the new
Right.
product.
You know, it's
now with more human.
Yeah.
it's funny. Basically, kind of what
Not
you
with grandma.
said. What you said about like large companies as they get larger, you try to buy up more companies or more farms or make it like that. In a way, in the film Rollerball, if you think about it, these teams are actually represented by these giant corporations, and
Yeah,
one
right.
is
That
Yeah.
really
the energy,
prophesized the corporation
the
thing.
energy, and talk about the energy corporation, the food corporation.
Oh, there you go.
And
Right,
what's
right.
funny is I was joking with someone about Disney, and it's like, look, there's still plenty of studio stuff, but Disney just bought 20th Century Fox.
Yeah.
I think you
And,
can
and
count
I
them on one hand.
never thought that would happen.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
good.
yeah.
And it's like, so the Alien franchise now belongs to
Yeah,
Disney,
they're
which
just,
is
like,
weird.
taking over
Yeah.
everything.
But look, what they've done with Star Wars, however you feel, it's like, hey, they're going to be creating more content, but it's like,
there's
are they
something-
becoming kind of a
something
monster
weird
in the
about
sense
that,
of, are they
yeah.
going to try to buy Universal, Warner Bros? You know what I
Sure.
mean? And then is it
Yeah.
going to be get to the point where you get one entertainment company making content for everybody?
Yeah. And if you look
But-
at like 30 years ago, you never thought
No.
Monty Python did. The Meaning of Life. Do you remember the boardroom? The very big corporation of America.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It wasn't even energy and entertainment.
No.
It was just
That's
one
true,
company.
the corporation.
The United
They're
States
so
of America.
good.
Yeah.
That's about as scary as the committee for putting things on top of other things.
Very important.
I tried to get a job with those guys. I kept knocking
You
things
brought
over.
up rollerball.
I did.
Which makes me think of, talk about anti-Earth, what these highfalutin people in rollerball did for fun.
The 1%ers.
Yeah.
Right.
They would go out and blow up trees.
Yeah.
Right, for fun.
For fun.
For fun.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there was a special gun that they had. You fired it, and what happened is it shot this thing out that would hit it and explode and light the whole tree on fire. And it's as explosive as a firework,
Right.
And fun to watch.
Yay!
And it's like, yeah, and they
Yes,
get
Maud
excited,
Adams
and
shooting
it was
trees.
like, it was like no big deal. It was like, let's go out, and the look of these people who are dressed in really fancy outfits, very all good looking, happy money people having fun blowing up these trees, and it's really a grotesque scene
Yeah, it really
in
is.
that movie.
Yeah, no,
It's
it stuck with me as a kid.
No, me too.
It's
Me
one of the
too.
most memorable moments, yeah.
So that's good that as a kid you saw that as bad.
Yes, I did.
But you
I
see,
did.
the problem with me in films and stuff is I'm at movie theaters where some people would think that was good. And they
In
cheer.
Kentucky.
Yeah. Actually in Valencia. Valencia. Like,
Valencia?
I remember going to
Kill
films-
that gay tree.
Yep. That's about right. Now, do you ever go to see films where like the audience is cheering and it's actually like they're cheering for the tree getting blown up?
Or you see like a horror film, they're cheering, Jason as he cuts up the teenagers. I mean, that's,
I would argue that is different.
yeah. I think so.
Yes. Because it's a different context of viewing.
But on this sort of Soylent Green, our soils are dying, food production thing, I think Interstellar falls into that.
Yeah.
And I don't know how deep
Yes.
you want to
Oh,
go.
yeah.
Yes.
Definitely.
That's
Sure.
like
Definitely.
a current one that's doing that same
Yeah.
thing. And
What do you think of that movie?
I like that movie.
I do too.
I
do
watched
too.
it, and then I took my oldest
exceptions.
boy to it, who was 6 or 7 at the time.
Oh, wow. I was pretty young for...
I just wanted him to. I mean, my parents took me to. Matt and I talk about this a lot. How screwed up were you because you saw Planet of the Apes?
No, but that's good though. I think that's
2001.
Me too. I remember my dad took me to see Alien.
Patton.
Alien, which is rated R, and I couldn't see it. And I
Your
was like,
dad
I
took
loved
you
it.
to Alien?
Yeah, it's like I loved it. It was fantastic.
Yeah, my
man.
mom took me to that.
Yeah, my dad
Yeah.
took me there too.
My dad took me to see Alien.
Yeah, see?
Wait, your mom took you to see Alien?
She loves science fiction.
That's right. I know.
That's
I know.
wild.
And then we saw Aliens. It was at the Coronet.
At the Coronet.
Coronet.
I saw it there too.
San Francisco.
Beautiful
Yeah.
theater. Yeah.
That's where you saw all the big blockbusters
Yeah.
in San
Yeah.
Francisco.
Where's the Cornet, or where was?
It was
in the
Geary
Sun-
Street.
Yeah. I don't want to say necessarily the Sunset District. It was in
Richmond
District. Yeah.
Richmond District.
Okay.
Yeah.
And now Interstellar had the after effects of global warming, not the overpopulation.
Not
element.
global warming. It was maybe it's connected because it actually all is connected. But it was a virus that was not allowing them to produce food. It was like a virus that took off in the soils and made the soils inert.
Yes.
And
So
you
it was just like a freak occurrence.
Yeah, but I think global warming. I mean, you can't take these separate things apart. Like nature's a web of events, right?
Right.
So global warming would create the. I'll give you an example.
That's why they call it an ecosystem.
Right. It's a system. Yeah. Exactly. Ecosystem.
I'm a genius.
Thank you.
I wanted to hear the sample.
It's like you read my mind. Well, for example, right now tropical diseases are moving north because they used to only be able to live in the tropics because they would have warm winters, so they wouldn't get killed in the winter. So in Kentucky or most of
It all
California,
comes back to Kentucky.
most of California, there's nights where it gets below freezing, many nights. That would kill any tropical disease from
Sure.
right.
locking in.
Okay.
But now we're getting less freezing nights.
Right.
Right.
And so these diseases are moving north, right?
Oh my
So
god.
And
scary,
so
man.
this sort of thing, the virus moving across the soils of the earth could easily be because it's getting warmer. And I love cherries, and you have to have a certain number of nights below freezing for a cherry tree to produce cherries.
Really?
I did not know that.
And so now we're getting less of those.
Oh no.
no, we're getting less cherries.
And I live in Phoenix.
Drink your Manhattans now.
There's cherries in Manhattan?
Yes, you put the little
put a cherry.
interesting.
Well, that makes you think of there's a film made in 1970 called No Blade of Grass, directed by Cornell Wilde, actually. And it's a It's an effective movie. It's pretty heavy-handed and pretty histrionic, but
I love it.
Good though. It's violent. It's Nigel Davenport is this father, has a family, and there's been a virus that's killed all strains of grass and wheat and corn
Around the world.
Around the world.
Yeah.
It starts in China, and it's just like this pneumonia disease that's now starting in China now, today, real in the paper today.
wow.
So because
Yeah.
we were watching that, and I'm like, oh, that's kind
Wow.
of
And it's
ripped from
so
the front
basically,
pages, as you said
yeah,
earlier.
Yeah.
And it's basically he has to get his family. They figure for some reason I can't remember why they want to go to Scotland. They're in like London or wherever they want to get to Scotland where they
Scotland's
think
nice.
it's safe.
His
And-
brother's farm, right? Or
yeah,
something?
to his brother's farm.
okay.
But this film is mostly about how humanity reacts and acts in such a dire situation. So they have biker gangs and
Sure.
rival. It's like it's just manic. It's like
limited food. Is that
Yes,
the
yes.
situation?
So it's like
But
people go.
Nigel Davenport, what I love about that movie is how you see him change over the series of
Yes,
events
yes.
and become a little more brutal and,
Yeah.
and do some terrible things.
It's a little bit of like a Straw Dogs kind of.
yeah,
kind of
or even a
idea.
little
I mean-
Panic in the Year Zero,
Yeah,
a little bit of
yeah.
that. But what I love about that film is, first of all, that it's not nuclear.
Right,
It's
right.
something that tangible.
Yeah.
and
very
realistic.
basic,
And what
you
I
know.
love about that, and we were watching the trailer before the show started, but I love the opening of that when you've got these people at a restaurant and everyone's enjoying their dinner and there's some talk about, oh, well, there's been some shortages. You can't get this or that, you know, and you just see the edges of this thing happening.
Right. This thing's taken off the menu. Sorry about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. And I love that. I love it because what that does is it really grounds it. It really just roots it in reality.
Yeah.
And by the time everything starts to go completely nuts, man, I'm in it.
And it's like, the novel from the 60s, Silent Spring.
Yeah,
right.
sure,
Yeah, that's
Rachel
like
Carson.
A famous novel.
That started
all
pretty
about,
much the environmental movement.
Yeah,
The modern
yeah.
environmental
Right.
movement.
All about, the effect that pesticides are having and all
Yeah.
that stuff. But that,
And jogging bras.
yeah. But,
It has an effect.
but it's interesting how certain eco horror films, they deal more with like the more down to earth horror of people in the situations. But then you also have, movies like Frogs, and it's more like the eco aspect of it is an excuse to have a monster or something.
Sure. And there was
right.
there was a series of those films over a vast period of time where it's
You mean like the Frogs films, or
well, like Frogs or
this
Night of the
one?
Lepus or
Yeah.
something
The
where
70s
some
had a little renaissance of eco horror.
Right. So it's like a pesticide or something or pollution that creates either a giant monster or insects going crazy.
So in the 50s, it was all nuclear caused, giant
Right.
spiders. And then in the
Yes.
70s, it was all pesticide caused.
pesticides and
Which brings me to one of my favorites. I think I can speak for everyone here.
Night of the Lepus?
No, from 1971, Godzilla versus the Smog Monster.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Now, we had brought up Godzilla before, like the first time
What's
he
the other
appears.
title for that one?
Godzilla versus Hedorah.
Hedorah.
And this is a very special film for me, and we've talked
We all
about
love
this.
it.
We all love it because it's the one monster that really is created from sewage and pollution.
Right.
And at that time, Japan was going through their own messy problems with
whole
had
world.
The whole world and particular and Japan in general, and
Yeah.
there were just tons of like sewage and all kinds of the toxic stuff that was thrown into the ocean right then and there. And this is a culture that relies on, hey, we like fresh fish, for our sushi
Yeah.
and that kind of thing, and not realizing what they're doing to their environment.
Yeah.
And
the movie has really, even though it's this big crazy kaiju film, but there are images in that movie, like those early images of like the bank of the water, and you see all
Yes.
that crud.
Yes.
It's-
Yeah.
that,
Yes.
that really got to me as a kid. Like,
Yes.
you see
Same
like,
here.
like the little doll,
Yeah,
doll's body or
Yeah,
head
and you
floating
think
in
it's
the
what year
water.
was that?
This is
thing?
1971. And the funny thing about it, too, is what you can tell from the beginning of the film is look at what we're doing to our Earth. And even Godzilla is upset. He's so angry.
Yeah,
and
that's
he
what
swims in
he's
it.
burning
Yeah.
because he's living in it. And what he does is he uses his atomic breath to burn the sewage, the stuff that's floating on the water. So it's like even Godzilla is trying his best to destroy this stuff.
Yeah, with radioactivity.
There's two things there. So it's like the handing of the torch from the 1950s nuclear films to the 1970s chemical films.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And atomic breath, every time you say it, I keep thinking of my boys because they have that every morning. But that,
It's okay. Oh, me
I
too.
don't know how that
Oh,
happens.
yeah.
And just a couple years later in Japan, they released a film called Catastrophe 1999. also known as The Prophecies of Nostradamus, and that film also known as The Last Days of Planet Earth.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's how I know it.
That's 3 titles.
That's like
yeah.
Matt.
Yeah.
You've got 3 titles.
But this movie, this is also a very kind of
Baron,
very
Countess.
very heavy-handed film. But it's like this scientist who he's like looking at the prophecies of Nostradamus, and he realizes that these things are happening: overpopulation, radioactivity, no ozone layer, etc. And it shows the effects of this.
I would argue it's not the best way to be taken seriously if you're opening with the prophecies of Nostradamus.
Yes, true.
But back to the just real
Smog
quickly back to
monster.
the smog monster.
Yes.
Doesn't Godzilla you have to dry out Hedorah? Like you have to
but you see,
keep drying it out, drying it out.
This is the amazing thing, though, about
That's what you were talking about.
Hedorah just starting out in certain forms and evolving and becoming bigger
It's just
and
like a tadpole.
but growing and being able to walk in a forest and then all of a sudden fly. And as it flies, it emits this exhaust, which is so poisonous. Like
wilts flowers.
Yeah,
and
or
your
kills
country squire.
Yeah, or kills people, or
kills
deteriorates your skin.
I started with wilting flowers.
Yeah,
It hurts the flowers.
yeah, and also people don't realize that Hedorah is actually larger than Godzilla. Godzilla's supposed to be like the biggest monster of
But
the
not at first, right? Doesn't Hedorah
He
grow?
grows.
he grows.
He grows.
Because
there's more
Because
pollution.
there's so much pollution.
Yeah.
And what does he do? What's one of the things that he loves to do? I mean, this monster, this Hedorah likes to go to an industrial place and inhale, go to the smokestacks and go.
Yeah, it's like he's doing a bong hit.
Smoke, yes.
So-
Which, by the way, where is the Hedorah bong?
There you
Yeah.
go.
Well,
There you go.
well, in a way, Hedorah could have been our savior.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
No, 'cause
because he
he's-
could then suck up.
No,
all the pollution,
I know what
But
you're
then
saying.
where does he go?
Yeah,
Well, you got to get him a girl. If Hedorah had a date,
Okay, hold
and
on.
had all that energy,
no.
then they just go off to the ocean and
and they
destroy
would,
everything.
They would produce more little grotesque
See,
polluted
that's
things.
called unintended consequences. You're right, and we scientists don't think about that stuff.
So the best thing to be done was, yes, sir. What we did is
Wipe
we
it out!
we
Like
we
rollerball
got to a
trees.
point where we were
I
able
give you
to
a high five?
to dry.
'Cause you called me sir.
Well, I didn't mean it. It's like
you didn't,
It took a long time.
He didn't mean it with respect.
No,
No,
but it's like
I know.
to dry it out, and it turns into this powder, and there's this moment where Godzilla is so angry. He may have been victorious, but there's this moment where he's so angry he picks up pieces of this header and just starts flinging it, and it's a statement to mankind saying, "Damn it, get your act together."
Save
I'm going to
the
be
earth.
throwing crap at you. And yes, the song, we'll kind of joke about it, but the song,
I love the song.
is,
I do too.
save the earth,
Save the earth.
and then,
Oh my God.
and just to let you know, as far as Godzilla,
That was scary.
as far
That
as
was scary.
look at me. As far as Godzilla films go, as far
Eyes on Larry.
as far as Godzilla films go,
Right?
you could say, oh, he's a big monster fighting other big monsters. What's great about this is in the film, it's got so many unique things. It's got some stop motion
I agree.
animation. It's got like
it's a
cartoon
crazy
stuff
movie.
from like a kid's point of view. You got people having a party wearing fish heads, and it's like a psychedelic
nuts.
thing.
Yeah. It really
and
is.
it's
Mount
like,
It's
Fuji
very
party.
creative.
and so
Yeah.
the point I'm trying to make, it's such a unique Godzilla film,
and the
it's
most overtly eco horror.
yes.
Yes.
And also not a very successful film.
Right.
No,
So
not a
it's
successful
right.
film.
So
Initially.
think about this. You've got this commercial. You're seeing all this trash. And then Godzilla turns to the camera and there's a tear.
Yeah.
An atomic tear.
Yeah.
Going down.
Glowing. Yeah.
See, you laugh
I like
at that.
that.
Oh, I'm laughing
No.
through my tears.
No, because
Yeah.
as a person who took Godzilla very seriously, I mean, I
Yes, we know.
love that film.
Me too. We
if
all
you-
love it.
if
Well,
you
he's a
listen
hero
the,
to you.
Yes, and if you listen to the show, that's the first film that shows Godzilla toys, and that's when my
here we go.
mind
I
exploded.
love this story.
Yes, okay,
Yeah.
Tell it for the
I haven't
19th
heard this
time.
story before.
But I just really quickly,
Yeah.
that's the first film I saw Godzilla toys, and it was
Made of
my
plastic.
Yes, and it was my goal to
Ruining
find
the
those toys,
environment.
which I did eventually.
Are they biodegradable?
No,
Hold on.
no,
Are
because
they biodegradable?
No,
Matt,
no.
because
Answer the question,
Matt,
Hold on,
sir.
Matt.
They're
Hold
in
on,
my
Matt.
case. They're in my glass case
Hold
at
on.
home, sir. No,
Hold on.
they're in my glass, and that's where they will stay.
I'm defending plastic right now. Plastic that
You know
is-
how to ruin a good time.
No, single-use plastic is the problem.
Yeah.
Go to Starbucks, get a whatever, and throw it away.
Sure.
Right? The plastic in this room
the toys.
will never be in the ocean.
Aha!
Well, it won't be because it's in here.
No, but
That's what I'm saying. This is use. I think plastic has a good use, and that is to make toys.
Yes,
All
and that
plastic
and
should
that
be
Godzilla
made
in my
toys.
case.
Thanks
I'm on
a
your
lot.
side. I'm
Thanks
on
a
your
lot,
side.
Peter.
Yes, that Godzilla in my case is going to stay there until I die,
And then what? Landfill.
no, it won't be in the landfill.
Piles of
no,
hetero
it'll be-
figures.
I do think it'll
that
go
we
to my daughter, and my daughter
Your
can either
daughter.
sell it or
do think
it'll be
packaging-
handed down like a priceless heirloom.
Okay. All right.
All right.
Great.
You know, I think it is worth pointing out though that we were pretty young when Godzilla versus the Smog Monster, Soylent Green, Rollerball came out, and I never had any consciousness at all about pollution or cautionary tales about the future
Mm-hmm.
overpopulation.
Right.
And these movies really they scared the shit out of me. They opened my eyes.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think they really deserve not only to be discussed, but to really be celebrated. Because
agree.
they put something in my consciousness that stayed with me all my life.
But also
They're the Captain
while-
Planet of our generation.
Yes,
Yeah, but
exactly.
while working as entertainment for kids,
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
horror
At the
for
same time.
monsters,
Yeah.
but like still,
See, I can
yeah,
play.
yeah, yeah.
Captain Planet. That's another one.
Totally.
But that's not a horror film, is it?
Well, isn't it?
There's got to be a Scooby-Doo that had some toxic
Have you
waste.
seen that
I'm
outfit?
sure. I'm sure.
Well, are there? I'm sure there are many other movies too.
Yeah, I just want to say,
talk about this.
when I listen to Monster
Nice
Party,
segue.
when I listen to Monster Party, I know just about none of the movies you guys talk about. So you
Really?
guys are my
Okay.
education in this
Okay.
whole world.
Okay.
And the fact that so many of the films on Matt's list for me to prep for this I had seen
Yes.
in the theater.
Yes.
I was like,
Cool.
all right.
Awesome.
But Godzilla versus the Smog Monster, my boys watched with me this Halloween. It was on TCM.
They like
nice.
it.
It was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was really good.
It's a good film for kids, I think.
Yeah.
Should we just go to Toxic Avenger? Should we just go there?
Do it. Go for it.
Okay, so we talked about Godzilla. Throw out another one.
I could go
He
with
just said Toxic Avenger.
So Toxic Avenger was 1984. Yeah.
I was in college in the 80s, and I really didn't like the 80s on a lot of levels, including my own haircut. And that
Worse
film,
than now?
yes.
Really?
That film just yes. It's again another scientific fact.
But Toxic Avenger.
It just God, the 80s were horrible, and the whole gym
Not for
culture-
movies, though.
Well, there's good and bad, and there's good and bad, but the characters in this film were so deplorable.
They are. But they're supposed to be.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
they were so extreme, and it just reminded. I'm just saying, those characters reminded me why I didn't like the 80s, because I think there were a lot of people like that. Really, I don't think they were. I mean, yes, maybe they're not going to drive over kids and take Polaroids, but they're probably going to drive over kids.
Which is an amazing scene. by
Could
the
you
way.
just let our listeners know? So Toxic Avenger. What is Toxic Avenger?
Based
from
on
the
true
80s?
story.
Well,
I guess it's Revenge of the Nerds before Revenge of the Nerds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a
Yeah.
nerd who falls in some toxic chemicals.
Well, he's abused.
He's
quite a bit
abused before that quite
at
a bit.
the health club.
Yes.
And it's very crude and raunchy, and
Yeah.
it's got
and it's
crazy gore
super
and
camp.
Yep.
Three Stooges kind of humor
right.
to it. You know.
But he is, this nerd is
Falls into a-
made fun of by everybody and all these jock bully types.
And he is off. I was wondering if he was
He's
on
off.
the spectrum somewhere.
Yeah, and I think so. I think you're right. But
I could be wrong.
he falls into this
A vat.
toxic, this vat of toxic whatever it is, and it changes
Beautiful.
him. And it makes him this strong superhero who looks deformed, but
He's still wearing the tutu.
he's
that he
still
was
wearing the tutu, and seems to be more intelligent now.
Oh, and kind.
And kind.
And he has a different voice.
And he has a bit of wisdom about him.
Yeah.
And he finally meets a girl who's a blind girl.
Well, it kept reminding me of Frankenstein, quite frankly.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Frankenstein and the girl who's blind. Isn't she?
No, that was the
little-
blind hermit.
Oh, it's
But
a blind
the little
hermit.
girl wasn't
They
blind.
had sex
Okay.
too, but
Yeah, well, without that part.
who wouldn't tap that blind
But I
hermit?
mean, the samurai
Just all
swords-
alone in that cabin, just playing that fiddle. Oh man.
It could have.
Let me in.
It could have ended there.
Yeah.
Like they tried to in 1984 in the happy ending before they
Yeah.
actually
Right.
that
Sure.
whole thing. But having samurai swords in the Mexican restaurant on the wall,
Yeah.
that was cool.
Well, and that's the
I
fun.
really like that.
Look, when it
Putting
comes
the
to
guy's face in the deep fryer, you
I
gotta love that.
I love it. I love it. And look, trauma films. I'm not a fan of all of them.
Yeah,
But there are a few
they
that
acquire
when
certain
they
taste.
work, they can be a lot of fun.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that one actually does work pretty well.
Right.
I wouldn't, recommend all the sequels or anything
Right.
like that. But that first one is fun. It's almost like a fairy tale of what if all these toxic chemicals did good.
Right. Yeah, because he becomes a better
Person.
a better citizzen.
Yeah, across
Well,
the board.
In the 80s, you had, I think it was 1980, or The Incredible Shrinking Woman.
Right.
And the take on that was the 50s Incredible Shrinking Man was like a mysterious cloud that he went through and he started shrinking. But in the semi-remake with Lily Tomlin, a bunch of different products, like
Aerosols. And
aerosols and like beauty products and weird,
All
like
mixed together.
all mixed together, caused her to shrink. So that was a little more topical at the time.
That's
I
my
guess.
excuse.
I've got a couple more things on Toxic Avenger, but to keep going down that line, the products we put on our bodies, there's one man who is screaming to the wind right now, who basically says the hormone disruptors on every receipt, all those thermal printed receipts,
Oh, yeah.
are disrupting people's hormones in their bodies in a huge way.
Wait, all the what? The
On a receipt.
Any-
You know how they turn black?
Yeah.
Kind of?
Any of those
it-
receipts are covered in a chemical or a combination of chemicals. It's usually the combination that gets you.
Okay.
Are disrupting our hormones in our body like in a major way.
really?
By
And-
simply just touching them.
Yeah.
And and that's been
And
around
no one's
forever.
listening to them.
No, not forever. It hasn't been around
Well,
forever.
it's been those receipts since that type has come out. So in the last
I don't
20 years.
20 years? Okay.
Wow, really?
And if you use hand lotion, it gets in there faster.
Wow.
Yeah. So I've pushed them away from my sons. No, you cannot touch that receipt, but no one's listening to this guy. And you kind of know he's right. Like I listen to Science Friday, besides Monster Party. I listen to Science Friday every
Oh,
week.
whatever.
I highly recommend it. And,
Do they drink?
I don't know.
Do they feed their guests dinner beforehand?
Probably not.
Oh.
As I was saying,
Yeah.
we're not some pushover
Yeah,
podcast.
I guess science doesn't always do good.
No, you guys are classy.
But
That's
anyway,
for
you
real.
were,
That's for real.
So you were saying the
interesting, though.
receipts.
Well, 'cause it's
So-
such like an everyday mundane thing.
And then
like,
there's these folks. There's a place called the Biomimicry Institute, which talks about how if we study nature, we can figure out ways to make our products better. Like the strength of a spider web is like if you had a
It's
spider
insane.
web an inch thick, it would be stronger than steel.
like sometimes I get a spider web on the side view mirror of my car, and I drive it on the freeway for an hour, and it's still fucking there. Oh yeah, I swear.
Yeah, exactly.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
like I
exactly.
don't understand.
And it's made at room temperature with leaves and flies.
yeah, that's crazy.
And so there's no pollution as a result. So how does
And
nature
yet, if
do
I
these
eat
things?
leaves and flies,
And you have.
Is a web going to come out of your butt?
Is it
not quite as strong.
but it does catch flies.
It does, yes. It does have its uses.
So anyway,
None of them discovered yet.
this lady at the Biomimicry Institute was talking about, she's been working on this whole idea of all the chemicals we put in our body all day long.
Yeah, yeah.
And Bill Moyers, journalist, really
Oh, yeah,
great
yeah.
journalist.
Power of the
did
Myth and many others.
He did a study. He figured that his dad, so Bill Moyers is in his 70s now, I think, maybe he's 80. His dad had probably 18 chemicals that weren't part of his makeup. And Bill Moyers had 187.
Oy, yeah.
Wow.
And so this incredible shrinking woman premise, maybe it's not going to shrink people, but it's definitely going to make them
Gonna
different.
do something.
It's
yeah,
going to
right.
make you different.
God, that's so weird.
But back to Toxic Avenger for a second.
Please.
Why?
I never thought I would hear that coming from you.
I'm in it, man.
All right, go.
Why is the chief of police German? And why is the doctor German? Like, so not only did it remind me of Frankenstein with the mob
Right.
and the blind girl
That's why.
and the stuff.
Oh, maybe.
It started reminding me of Young Frankenstein,
Sure.
Right.
Yeah. Look,
which was made well before this.
trauma films, if you're looking for consistency or logic or anything like that.
But then all the Elephant Man stuff.
Right.
Elephant Man was just made right then,
That's true. Yeah.
which was produced by Mel Brooks,
Yes.
Right. That's right.
who did Young Frankenstein. So I was wondering, are these guys like really thinking here? Or am I
Maybe.
just putting stuff together because I was thinking? later on.
Maybe.
That's always a hard one to answer. Don't
Well-
you think, when it comes to like where you see patterns in a film where you go, well, like, oh, obviously they were thinking, and then you hear an interview with the director and they're like, no, we just thought it would look cool.
You know, we'll ask Mel Brooks when we get him here.
yeah,
Well,
better hurry.
I've always thought Max Brooks would be a great guest on this show.
He would be.
sure, yeah.
He would be.
And
I can't tell you how upset I was with World War Z.
the movie.
You weren't a fan of World War Z, the movie.
Right.
Yeah. The book is so great, though. I love the book. And they even did an audio version that had like Rob Reiner and Carl Reiner and all these people.
all his dad's friends.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
just so good. And I would love it if we could wipe the slate clean of The Walking Dead and just do that as a show.
Yeah. I mean, why not? I mean, they're redoing Lord of the Rings right now.
Really?
That I don't understand.
What?
That I don't get.
Why would they
Yeah,
do
no,
that?
I know that they're doing that.
Because
What do you mean? They're doing new movies
going to
and they're
do
gonna-
all of it. They're not going to have the book cuts. They're going to do the whole damn thing. It's going to be a 20-part series. Something like that.
HBO.
Oh,
or
no,
something?
for TV.
Netflix or
Oh,
Amazon Prime.
yeah,
I'm
it's
a,
probably
series
I'm
I
a
can
little
kind of
worried
see,
about
but-
that because I thought the movies were long enough.
I thought the movies are great.
But it's also-
I loved
Some
them.
great characters
I
from the
loved
book.
them.
Tom
Thing is, though,
Bombadil's
there's so
not in the
many-
movies. He's a great character.
Is
But
he?
there's so many other properties that
Tom
aren't-
Bombadil?
haven't been done
it's
yet.
too
Like-
soon. They
That-
just
the big,
finished The Hobbit.
the big singing chunk of the book.
Oh, there's a lot of singing
Oh
in the
yeah,
book.
all the
I hope
hobbits
they don't do
singing.
that. If
I
they
bet-
do
I
that,
bet you they will.
I'm out.
I bet you they will.
I am.
I bet you they
Out.
will. Because
Yeah.
the book has the singing.
Yeah,
Okay.
right.
And that's where I
When
would
I
just
read
kind
them
of
to my boys, I had to sing.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay. Well, okay. This is.
I could just see your kids.
Didn't you read to your daughter?
I do. yes.
And if
I
there's
did.
singing in it, you don't sing?
I'd sing,
There you go.
but
I can only imagine the look on your kid's face when you're reading Lord of the Rings and all of a sudden that guitar comes out. And you're like, oh, fuck. Here he goes.
No. But I almost brought my guitar to Monster Party just to piss you off.
No.
I was going to sing my answers.
okay.
I might have enjoyed that.
But getting back to Toxic Avenger,
Please. There's a beautiful scene at the end of it when they decide not to shoot him. Like, out of the blue, there's this deep humanity of the mob.
Lloyd Kaufman has
Toxic
many
Avenger can teach us
levels.
many things in
Yes.
life.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about? Do you guys agree?
Of course.
Disagree?
Yes.
Sure.
No, I
Yeah.
Do you
do.
guys
Yeah.
watch this movie?
Of course.
I have a little Toxic Avenger figure on my shelf.
he does.
Well, I have plastic figures. I didn't even know they came from movies.
But see, not every ecological film has a happy ending like
Sure.
that. Some have
For example,
Prophecy
Oh yeah, I
yeah.
just watched this a couple days ago.
from 1979. And we were talking about toxic waste. Here you have basically a giant bear.
yeah.
And
is he giant or is
Well,
he just mutated?
No, he's like about 10
Is he?
feet.
Is
and,
Okay.
and I don't know if you guys remember, but when the film came out, I mean, I'm a teenager, but the poster is really kind of grotesque and
Yeah, it's pretty
creepy.
good, yeah.
Because it's like this baby creature in a sack.
Like an embryo. Yeah.
sack, and you don't know what it is. I didn't know.
Is it a bear?
Well,
It's
Or
like
is it a frog?
no.
It's
Can I
like a bear
just
cub.
for 1 second to jump back to Smog Monster? You know that was on a double bill with frogs.
That's right. That's right. Ecological double
AIP
bill.
released them both.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
But Prophecy,
Yeah.
I watched that not too long ago too, and I think I'm going where you're going, which is that when you see the beginning of this creature, I feel sympathy for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That movie is funny because
That's
that
actually
movie,
good, right?
Yeah.
Complicate your...
Yeah, and on the humans are horrible in
Yeah.
that, for the most part.
right? That movie is I enjoy that movie though. The movie takes
What's the
itself
premise?
so seriously.
It does, yes.
It's
Yeah.
directed by John Frankenheimer. David Seltzer wrote the script. It's very heavy-handed in the message it's
Yes,
doing.
it
Yeah.
is. Yes,
Very-
it is.
there's like there's a lot of melodrama. There's
Yes,
like
there is.
Armando Sante plays like a
Native American,
Native American.
yeah.
You're like his land's being but it's still fun.
did enjoy it,
I
though.
do enjoy it. It does involve toxic waste from a logging company that causes this problem, and it's kind of well done. But it's just there's no humor in it. It's just like, oh, this is serious stuff, But it is fun though.
It's heavy, yeah.
Yeah, but it's a good example of an eco horror film of the '70s for sure.
And we have to bring up, of course, considering the popularity of the movie Parasite, The Host.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely, it's on my
Yeah.
list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, that was
2006. Yeah.
Bong Joon-ho.
Bong Joon-ho.
Gosh, he's good.
Formaldehyde, right, is dumped into the
Yes, that's right.
South Korea
And
the
this
river.
is the movie that broke him, I think, as a filmmaker
so, yeah.
when it came to, I think, Western audiences.
International?
Yeah. And that's an example of a film where, lots of CGI monster effects, but for the most part, well done.
The Orphanage
I
did
mean,
the
it's
effects.
some of it's a little dated now when you look at it.
What's great about that movie is that going back, when I first saw the movie, it took me a little time to adjust to the idea that the monster really wasn't the main story.
Right.
The story is
Right.
everything else.
Right.
And so when going back to that movie, I don't mind the CGI because I'm enthralled with the story.
Yeah.
And the ecological slant of it.
Right.
Yeah, the idea of pouring formaldehyde into a river, having a really asshole American captain telling the Korean scientist, do it.
Right.
you know,
Right.
and then he keeps doing it. That premise was like, okay, right?
Yeah.
But from when the fishermen find the little tadpole forward, it's an amazing movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an
It
amazing
really
movie.
is.
It's gorgeous,
Beautifully done.
shot.
And the family drama stuff.
Yeah, the characters are very well done.
It's complicated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautifully done. And the sleeping dad, and you think he's a drunk and a fuck up, and then later on you find out that it's his dad's fault because his dad was negligent and just
Yeah.
And then he comes alive. He just when the shit hits the fan, he really does everything he can to help his daughter.
take a man's daughter away. What's he gonna do? Right?
Sure.
He's gonna fight to
Right.
the
Yeah.
end.
Right.
But just the little thing of the guy falling asleep and his father picks him up, gets the change off his cheeks, gives it like these little tiny
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
And I thought the effects were really good. And
Yeah.
do you guys know The Orphanage? Do you know that group? It's ILM alumni. And like they did the Iron Man heads up display.
Oh, really?
And they're really good. You should. I mean, they've done a bunch of stuff. And so the fact that he got them either meant that there was budget or they really loved the film. Like,
Right.
Yeah.
or they were young and trying to
Yeah.
establish themselves. Like,
Yeah.
It felt like
Yeah,
maybe it was
they put
that.
a lot of, you can see the effort made.
I thought the monster was really good, except for when it died. And then I realized it's so hard to do a CG death or a puppet death. Because I
Yeah.
think they were mixing puppet with CG.
It was a little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
Because they had the people in it.
Right.
Sure, yeah.
Right.
Well, that stuff, yeah. But like even at the time when the movie first came out, I kind of still felt like this could have been better if it was not CGI. Because that
would have been hard, though, to do.
It
There's-
would have been very difficult.
Yeah.
But it's like what you're talking about, getting emotion out of pixels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the way he integrated the CGI with the cast, though, and it's the way it was shot. You know what I mean? Like
He's a great filmmaker.
That helps a lot.
It
Like
does,
I said, it's
it
a little
does,
dated
yeah.
now, the effects, but like it's the way he shoots it and directs
What's
it.
that South African film? It's like Zone 19 or
District 9.
District 9.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah.
District 9 had this amazing way of having like handheld with the effects
Yeah.
locked in.
that holds up pretty well.
Holds up. I'm
This
still
is, I think, the
astounded by
beginning
that.
of that because
Yes,
this is years ahead
yes,
of that.
you're right.
But you know what helps that movie is the fact that you have these insect type creatures that have a lot of texture.
Yeah.
When you compare that to like The Host, which is there's a lot of smooth.
Anytime you have something mechanical too, it works better.
Yes,
You know, like
yeah.
Iron Man and all that. It can,
Sure,
all that
sure.
can look flawless now and totally real because it's not flesh, it's not living.
Right.
But the cockroach type creatures in District 9 are kind of a little in between.
Right.
So you kind of buy it more.
Yeah.
But I think District 9 owes something to this film. is what
Yeah,
I'm saying.
Sure.
I
Oh
agree,
yeah.
I
Yeah.
agree.
I love this one line in the film. I think it's the granddad talking to the son. I can't remember, but he says, "An animal that kills a human should be torn limb from limb." It was like that's an old saying, like like we always say
You
back in
know,
the day.
yeah.
Right.
And it's like
Because
really,
the limbs are the tastiest part.
I guess so.
Right.
I guess so. But that scene where he just barfs all the bones.
Yeah.
That's good.
It's a good film.
James, did you have?
I have an unusual title I don't think you guys are familiar with. It's actually a novel. It's never been filmed. It's called Quonset.
Quonset.
It's by an unknown author who lived in Cape Cod named James F. Murphy. It's from 1979.
It's a book.
It's a novel, yeah. I bought it as a paperback from a supermarket back when I used to spend summers on Cape Cod. I was 14. This is 1979.
Summers on Cape Cod. Get him.
We're gonna get an eco story out of this.
Yeah.
Well, you got to wait for it. It's about a New England summer resort town and a teenage boy, all American, handsome, who's a local. And he has a van, like a lot of teenagers do. The only thing that nobody knows about him is that he hates tourists. He resents them because every summer they take over the town. And
Okay.
he's fostered this deep hatred of them. In the back of his van, it's a kill room. And he manages to lure young women and other unsuspecting victims in, and he surgically disembowels them and does horrible things to them. He's a serial killer.
Okay.
And
But they're tourists.
they're all tourists. He will not kill locals. They are all tourists.
Okay.
Don't take that tour.
And they just think he's a charming young local guy.
Okay.
He probably is.
Over the
Until he
course
isn't.
over the course of the story, he's so good at what he does, the police cannot track him. Nobody knows who's doing this. And it becomes this big, it's like Son of Sam. It becomes this big sensation. The town is terrorized. Tourists stop coming. They leave in droves. Even the locals don't go out. Everybody's petrified. So at the end, he's victorious. They never caught him. He goes out by himself out onto the beach, looks out at the water, says, I've won. I've done it. A seagull comes down, attacks him. More seagulls come down, eat him alive. Because what has he done? He's decimated their food supply. All the tourists are gone. The seagulls are starving. They got nothing to eat. They eat
Because
him.
the tourists are feeding the birds.
Well, the garbage feeds the birds.
Right,
Yeah.
right. All the
Other
stuff
than the
left.
fish.
Now, I would not have remembered this novel at all reading it that
could you
long ago,
forget it?
except for that freaking ending, the
Yeah.
last 2 pages, because it's like,
It's almost like a Twilight Zone ending.
That's
or something.
brilliant.
Yeah.
But that's wait a minute.
absolutely
But that is my question too. Is that so? That's the only thing that seagulls can eat? Like, what about the fish?
No, seagulls eat fish and stuff. But
Well,
that's a nice premise.
I
that
like the
they're pissed
idea
at
of
him.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I was impressed.
Well, what he's taken from them is ice cream cones and
Right.
fried fish and French
Cheetos.
fries.
French fries, all this
Yeah,
stuff
yeah.
they
And
leave
that's what
Barbie.
they
Corn
want.
dogs.
They don't want that crappy fish.
Yeah.
They want the corn dogs.
Yeah.
They want the popcorn
funny,
and the
though.
cotton
Yeah.
candy.
That's funny.
Well, you're sick.
Screaming
you find
yellow
that funny?
zonkers.
No, I mean the story. The
Screaming Yellow
twist.
Zonkers,
Yeah.
right?
You know,
Oh, yeah.
it starts out. It
Fiddle
starts
faddle.
off.
Fiddle faddle.
It's a serial killer story, but then the
Yeah,
ending
yeah.
is completely out of left field. It's
Yeah.
like, wow, nice.
That's
and this was an
crazy.
author. He only wrote 3 or 4 books, but this
Till the
was,
seagulls got him.
But there's a film from
So
19
are you suggesting that could be a good film?
I don't know with that ending.
Yeah,
maybe,
actually,
maybe
what-
an
what's
episode,
it-
American-
episode in an anthology horror
Right,
thing.
right,
maybe.
right,
What's
yeah,
the
exactly.
slasher
Half hour.
film that Christian
Tales of the
Bale's in?
Unexpected.
Yeah,
or,
yeah.
What's
yeah.
the horror film that Christian Bale's in?
American Psycho.
So it's American Psycho meets The Birds.
Yeah,
Yeah, kind of right.
sure.
There's a film in 1972 which I like, which is actually based on a British TV series called Doom Watch.
Oh yeah, yeah. I
Doom
turned him
Watch.
onto that.
Yeah, 1972. Now there's a series in 1970, and it's a cool idea too. It's like
Very
a,
popular series.
Yeah, it was. I've not seen the series, but it's basically like
I have.
a group of like a team of scientists who just investigate strange ecological events that are abnormal. And they made a movie, pretty effective movie, based on the series. Ian Bannon, Judy Geeson, George Sanders are in it, and it's basically Doom Watch is the name of this environmentalist group, and they investigate this chemical dumping on this island. Because all the fish are being eaten by the inhabitants of the island, and the inhabitants are starting to become like deformed. And,
Because the fish have been toxified.
right, like people eat the fish, get acromegaly, they go crazy. And
The makeup is really good.
really good, and it's a very kind of a slow burn mystery as to what's going on. Because the townsfolk in this small isolated community are very like proud and don't want visitors, don't want strangers, so they're hiding.
That's like a cliche, right?
Yeah,
The
yeah,
proud
yeah,
UK
yeah. But they're like hiding.
village.
They're hiding their deformed family members and friends and don't want anybody to see. But so the Doom Watch is investigating this, but it's pretty well
And Doom
done.
Watch, by the way, it's the Department for the Observation and Measurement of Scientific Work. I don't know how you get Doom Watch into that.
right. But it's
what
pretty
they
good
say.
though. I just like the idea of this, team of scientists investigating.
And this
In the
show,
ecological premise.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say that
think we're gonna go.
the television series was apparently very popular because it was a type of science fiction that really hit home because it was real.
Yeah.
And all
Right.
all the quote unquote science fiction premises were like things like, ecological contamination
Right.
or
Overpopulation, pesticides,
and
whatever.
and people would watch it and be genuinely terrified because they realize, oh my God, this could happen.
Right.
In the premise, I thought we were going to go to the same spot. We were going to the same spot. The premise of, I'll just go to real life. So coal plants put out a lot of mercury, especially before we put scrubbers in. Mercury goes into the rain. Rain falls into the ocean. So you got the mercury into the rain falls into the ocean. The fish eat the mercury, little fish. Bigger fish eat those fish. And each new fish that eats it, the mercury gets more and more concentrated.
Right.
And then we eat the bigger fish, and then we get the mercury.
In prophecy, it's mercury that's the cause of the mutation of the animals because
Yeah.
they're treating the logs to soften them or something with mercury,
Oh,
and
interesting.
the fish are getting contaminated, and the bears eat the fish. And so it's
You know,
mercury.
it's funny you should bring that up because in the classic documentary, The Cove, which is about the dolphin slaughter that happens
Academy
in
Award
Japan, Academy
winning.
Award winning. What I didn't realize, these dolphins, they're eating all these fish, and all these dolphins that are being slaughtered and being sent out to sushi places where the dolphins are full of mercury.
Yeah, because they're at the top of the food chain.
So what I thought was mind-boggling to me was the people who ran the schools in the town where this takes place, they don't allow the kids to eat any of the food that comes from the slaughter of the dolphins, which that blew me away.
Because of the mercury?
Yep, because of the mercury.
They know better.
They know better. And it's almost like, it's like, well, the town knows, don't eat the dolphins from the, it's perhaps things have been changing since The Cove came out. I don't know. I know that this is something that has been going on for generations.
Yeah. Well, the
But
mercury in the food supply chain is real. Like
Yes.
I come to LA to go eat at my favorite sushi place, and I'm sure I've got higher mercury now than when I drove in Monday.
When we were in Japan, we had sushi every day.
Right.
I'm sure we walked out of there.
How can you not?
Well, some of us
That's the thing
did.
too. Is it like
I had a shrimp burger. That's different.
no? There's no mercury in the
That shrimp
McDonald's shrimp burger, which are really good, by the way.
Are they?
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
big time.
McDonald's has these international menus now, so you can get a lot of food from
Yes.
other countries.
I can't
In this country.
I can't
Really?
wait
Where?
for that shrimp
Yeah.
burger to get
Yeah,
here.
I know,
I'm
really
waiting
good.
for that.
It
Yeah.
might be here. Have you looked?
No.
No.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Not the one around the corner.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, keep an eye out because
I will. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll ask.
All right,
I've got some
other
friends
ones.
there.
How about Snowpiercer?
I was just going to say that one too.
Snowpiercer.
Also, Boon Jong Ho.
That's right.
Yeah.
And
Bong Joon Ho. Sorry.
what did you say?
I say Boon Jong Ho.
Say his name properly.
Bong Joon Ho.
Bong Joon-ho.
Bong
Okay.
Joon-ho.
So his family name is Bong, and then Joon-ho is his name.
Okay.
I think so.
Yeah. Family first.
Yes.
Right.
And
Yeah.
you saw this film.
Global
This
Yeah.
is one of the ones that
I watched
we
this 2 nights
pushed
ago.
your way.
All of these are ones you pushed
Yeah,
my way.
okay.
I think my
And-
parents had pushed a few of them my
What
way.
was this film about?
So through trying to deal with climate change,
Global warming.
Yep.
they have a mechanism that is supposed to control that. That goes wrong. And
Can I go a little more detail there?
Sure, go for it.
So it's called geoengineering.
Yeah,
And-
see, we want you to provide the science.
Why don't you let our guest talk?
The movie is there's a guy and the guy
Okay,
comes in and
they
he's
got
like,
these
whoa.
stuff and
There's
they
like
go,
this train.
Okay, so go ahead, do your science.
Thank you, sir.
Do your sign.
Do your science.
Do that science stuff. I'm not a scientist.
You're Mr.
I know, I get
You're
it.
Mr. Science.
But I do know a few scientists.
Go.
But geoengineering is the idea that we're going to have to artificially cool the planet because we're not going to be able to figure out a way to cool it fast enough anyway. And so there's a big argument in the scientific community.
And this is a real thing.
There's a real thing.
Right.
Should we actually mess with it? So really,
Right.
since we started burning coal in the Industrial Revolution in 1750 onwards, we have been geoengineering.
Well, how do you make it cooler? Like, do you take your refrigerator,
Well,
open it up, and
Pete-
like?
Actually, that makes it warmer, and I'll tell you
Yeah.
why.
Sure.
But
Answer that. Answer his question.
the way you make it cooler and what they're talking about in the film specifically is the idea of spraying aerosols in the upper atmosphere that reflect sunlight back into the space before it comes down to Earth.
Oh,
So like when a volcano goes off,
right.
the sulfur in the ash
Yeah.
will cool the planet.
No.
Yeah. So when Pinatubo went out,
Yes.
the planet cooled.
I did not know that.
And so
why-
can we artificially
have 'em
do
on.
that if we're in such a dire emergency?
right.
And my take on it is, why don't we just start using nature in the way we produce food and not have to do that?
Right.
Because when we're regenerating the soils, we're drawing down so much carbon from the atmosphere because the soils lost so much carbon in the first place. We can start cooling the planet through nature.
Through nature.
I see,
But
right?
in Snowpiercer,
They spray CW7 is what it's called, and they're spraying it aerosols, and it goes wacko, and it cools the planet so quickly that the planet turns into basically a nuclear winter in a way.
the entire planet.
The entire planet. So the only people who are alive are living on a train that's circling the globe.
Circumvents the whole.
Yeah.
Oh my
And now,
God.
when you watch this movie, you have to go in realizing there's a fable-like quality to it.
Yeah. It's
Buy that
yes.
premise.
Yes.
And then you're going to have a good time.
And then
Yeah,
you're okay
yeah.
with it. Yes.
They're not having a good time.
No, they're on a train, and so the train is like every strata of society. You've got the poor in the back, of course.
Right.
And then as you go up the train, it gets a little bit better until finally the elite are all in the front. And they've got access to, bars and good food and
Yeah, like
steaks and
Schools.
Yeah,
It's a whole-
schools
it's a
and
whole
everything.
class system.
Yeah,
on-
all the way up.
and it's just, third class, second class, first class.
Right,
it's
right.
exactly what the train
So
system.
it's a pretty big train then.
It's a long train, but
Yeah.
what really is not that many people made it.
I see.
Right.
Right.
And the people in the back eat this kind of food, shades of Soylent Green.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's
It's
just
just
this,
a protein bar is what they
yeah, it's
call
like
it.
a black, almost gelatinous
Yeah,
kind
it
of
looks like thick
mass.
jello, dark purple jello slab.
Yes. And so Chris Evans is one of these guys who lives in the back, and he's decided, enough is enough, and he's going to fight his way to the front to get some equality and figure out, what's the next step. And
Yeah, we shouldn't be treated like shit.
Yeah.
And they take their children. You don't know why.
Oh, that's another
they
thing,
measure
too,
the
yes.
children before
Yeah.
they take them.
yeah, they
And
all of a
it's-
sudden your child will be taken away from you. You have no idea if it's being killed or
Yeah.
They're being used for something.
they are being used, and that's certainly not a spoiler that I would want to review.
No,
No,
because it's
no.
very bizarre and
I'm
twisted.
sorry I
It's-
even mentioned it.
The movie is so good. It's visually stunning. The acting is great. Even when it's over the top, it works.
That's one thing. When I first saw it, it kind of sometimes it was a little.
It's got
little-
that great
but it-
contained, like the Taken with Pelham 1, 2, 3 or Speed.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like you're on this one
Yeah.
transportation unit.
But once you buy into the
Yeah,
world,
you have to buy into
I
that,
feel
then-
like everything then falls into place. Like
Right.
Tilda Swinton and her crazy character, all of that fits.
So
Yeah.
Snowpiercer.
Now,
Snowpiercer.
Snowpiercer.
there's apparently a TV series.
Is there?
I think there's. A
I believe
Snowpiercer
there is
TV
there is
series.
going to be a TV series.
Or-
Boy, that
going
sounds
to
like a
be.
mistake.
But there were a series of comic books because this whole thing is based on a comic book called Le Transper Seniage. I'm sure that's mispronounced. And it's by Jacques Laube, Benjamin Legrand, and Jean-Marc Rocher.
Oh, that's nice.
Snowpiercer, they've released it, and I can't remember which company has released it, but there are 3 volumes. I believe there are 3 volumes, and I have all 3. And it's a great comic, and it's different from the movie. But the movie does a really good job of distilling the major points
Yeah.
of the graphic novel and making it into a good movie.
And what's his new film that's out right now?
Parasite.
Parasite.
I've
I
not
haven't
seen that
s-
yet.
I have not seen that
I hear
yet.
good things though.
Yeah, I heard it's amazing.
So if I had to pick, though, I'd still would say that The Host was a better film than Snowpiercer.
Okay.
That's how
I think I kind of agree with that. I mean, I like both, but I think
I have to say, I think I enjoyed Snowpiercer more than The Host because I think I had more fun with it.
yeah.
okay,
I like the
I could
idea
see
of
you
like
having more fun with it.
creating this world.
right.
And there were some surprises there that I didn't really get from The Host. Even though I enjoyed it and I really respected what that film was doing,
Yeah.
Snowpiercer has these things that happen that are like, wow.
There's some great surprises, great mad scientists,
Yeah.
great
Yeah.
cool stuff.
Ed Harris.
And both films had a tremendously heartfelt ending.
Yes.
And is that a thing? That's a thing in a lot of horror films that you get this moment of
Sure.
release, right?
Absolutely.
Like Day After Tomorrow, right? You feel okay even though the world's in an ice cube.
Sure.
You-
Is that the Roland Emmerich?
Yeah.
There's a Day After Tomorrow. Then there's 2012.
They did a number of those
and then
kind of films.
Geostorm, which Dean Devlin directed. Yeah,
well, The Day After Tomorrow.
Was that any good? Because I haven't seen
haven't
that.
You
seen
haven't
it.
seen it?
No.
Dennis Quaid, right?
I
I
liked
saw
it.
Yeah, I mean, if you like disaster movies, it's
Yeah,
it's
a disaster movie.
I just
And
I'm
it's
I'm not a
clever.
fan
It's like a
of
new Ice Age
those
happened,
filmmakers.
yeah.
So
Oh, okay.
I
Well-
tend to shy away from things that they do.
There's great scenes of like a tornado decimating Hollywood,
Yeah.
right? In the Capitol Records
But
building.
aren't they just all
You'd like that.
CGI
It's
fest?
all CGI.
Well,
yeah.
I'd like that.
Cut that into a 20-minute reel.
but I mean, you could go and watch the special effects and get something out of it, right?
True.
They are well done, but the premise of could this actually happen? And so the film's based on the idea that through climate change, we're affecting the way the currents are moving on our oceans.
Oh, okay. That's good.
And so what's happening now is it looks like the currents are slowing down.
Uh-huh.
And what the currents do is they bring warm water from the equator up to like Western Europe. Mm-hmm. And then the waters get cold, they sink, and they go back down. And it creates this...
a cycle.
Thank you. I'm looking for another word, convection or something like that. Mm-hmm. And if it slows down, then it'll affect the jet stream, it'll affect weather patterns and things like that. And so the premise in the movie is that it actually stops.
Okay.
And when it stops, as it's getting crazy is when all this stuff happens, the tornadoes in Hollywood and giant...
Tidal waves?
Tidal waves, thank you, and things like that. I feel like I'm playing charades. And,
It's fun, though.
No, you're good at it. Because that was just me stretching. But once it stops, then what happens is you get these vortexes of cold air. You basically get these big spinning giant hurricanes, like bigger than anything we've ever seen. And the eye of the hurricane is so high into the upper atmosphere, it starts sucking down space.
Oh.
Oh, wow.
And then it just freezes the planet.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
So that's the concept.
Well, that's a good concept.
And it's debated in science if it's accurate,
Okay.
not poo-pooed outright.
Right.
okay.
It might be extreme, right? Like that's the extremist view of when the current stops.
Sure.
But yeah, that could happen.
And
So-
there's a lot of scenes of Dennis Quaid trying to rescue his son from the New York Public Library. He's stuck in this with Jake Gyllenhaal or somebody like that.
Yep.
Yeah.
He is stuck inside Jake Gyllenhaal.
Truly eco horror.
You would have liked it.
That would have been a better movie.
You know, I've pitched that movie for years.
You know, the one thing I remember about that is that a few years after it came out, I was at a party that was promoting the very first Blu-ray technology.
Oh, okay.
And they kept showing scenes from different movies on a loop. And one of them was special effects scenes from The Day After Tomorrow. And one of them was an earthquake scene in someone's living room. And everything was shaking. But there was a shelf with vases on it. And the vases didn't fall off. I was like, you lazy bastards, you just shook the camera. What was the budget on this movie? And all you did was shake the fucking camera.
That's funny.
Okay.
But that's not something you,
got a good eye.
notice. That's not something you notice until you watch something
Right.
on a loop. And
Sure,
there's, hey,
sure.
wait a second.
Right.
I don't remember that earthquake in the movie because that's not like
it
a
might have been
weather-created thing.
Might have been during the tornado or one of the other
Right.
weather issues.
No, I'm not saying it didn't exist. I'm just not recalling it right now. But
Why are you calling James a liar?
no.
No, my memory's a little hazy.
I'm just saying. Wouldn't it be interesting if that wasn't in the final film, but it was on that reel?
Yeah.
Oh,
it could be.
okay.
Or,
Yeah.
you know, like you have these scenes in trailers that aren't in the movies.
Oh, sure.
Oh,
Yeah.
all
All the time.
Yeah. Twister was one of the first ones I saw that there was like a scene.
There's
where,
no tornado in Twister.
No, there's like this shot of like debris, like your point of view of like you're driving a car and you see this debris fly at the camera. Like that wasn't in the fucking film because that was cool.
If anything, that's what you should
that
put
was
in.
like- yeah.
You know, it's
Yeah.
funny you bring up Twister, which makes me think of the Wizard of Oz.
Right.
And that tornado scene in Wizard of Oz had a deep, deep effect on
It
me.
still
It's
looks
still-
amazing. It's
It's
still because
great.
you're watching it and you're watching Julie Garland run around the foreground and you see that fucking thing in the background. Like that looks real. Like what did they do? They make a
How
real
did they-
tornado? Like this is from the 30s or 40s.
Even
How
when
do
you
they do
watch
that?
the Blu-ray
37.
of that, even when you watch the Blu-ray and with the
And
Blu-ray,
Oz looks
and you can
fake.
see like the walls of
Yeah.
the set, but it's still amazing.
still
Like it's
amazing,
still
yeah.
great. I just look at it and I go, "This is the most badass play I've ever seen in my life."
Considering how troubled that production was
Yeah,
from beginning
sure.
to end,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
a miracle.
I need to know more about the production because I didn't know there was troubles.
Well, you know
Yeah,
about the whole
it's
Tin
great.
Man thing, right?
Oh, that Buddy Epson was allergic to
Yeah,
the,
yeah,
to
yeah.
silver?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
bad.
I don't know that.
And Margaret Hamilton was burned and all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I know that.
And
I thought you were talking about
Victor
troubles.
Fleming was
No, in real life.
Victor Fleming, who's actually credited of directing it, was actually like the third director.
Right.
He was actually the second one that came in to do it, but then he had to leave to go do Gone with the Wind. But the funny thing about Wizard of Oz, when I see that scene, it reminds me, talk about history, even though the date might be a little off, is the creation of the Dust Bowl. You know,
Right.
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
this and
Yeah.
you from the very you
True.
started you
Eco horror.
You started to talk about at the very beginning. I didn't even talk about this thing about the soil, and I thought, wasn't that the problem with the Dust Bowl that was created in the Midwest back in the 20s and 30s.
Yes.
And which
Yes.
all these farmers were doing exactly what you were saying, and it killed the soil and created over states, giant states, this powdery, dry, dead soil. And the
really
big
good,
thing,
Larry.
the big thing was they were saying Congress was the ones that caused the Dust Bowl because they were telling farmers this is what you need to do. And that can be debated or whatnot.
I
But
can give you some more details.
Yeah, but that's an ecological horror.
Sure, that's
what
eco
you're-
horror.
So what you're saying is, and this is brilliant, The Grapes of Wrath is an eco horror film.
Yes,
And that's awesome.
Yes,
That's true.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
And you know, it may not fall into this on the show, but if you haven't seen The Grapes of Wrath with
Or read The Grapes of Wrath.
or read,
Yeah.
it's,
The movie is brilliant, though.
You know,
Yeah.
it really is a great movie. Yes, it is a classic 1930s movie.
It's it's
with
so
Henry
pertinent.
Fonda and a slew of other great character actors, but it's heart-wrenching
Yeah.
and it's beautifully shot and it's such a terrific film.
And some wonderful subtle acting from Henry Fonda.
Yeah,
It's like for the time
Are you
feels
you're saying
almost
that, like he didn't normally do
well,
that?
no. I'm actually comparing that to the time.
Oh, okay.
And there's
Yeah.
a certain type of acting that you would see in other movies. But,
Yeah,
but
it was-
Henry Fonda brought this realism, this,
Yes.
this
Film it, cinema.
Yeah,
Yeah, it wasn't
Leaving
as
the
heavy.
theater,
Small.
coming to
Right.
cinema.
You realize that
Yeah.
there, you got a camera on you. You don't have to be so big. You can have a little moment, and that can just say volumes.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things in that film too. It's not just about one specific thing.
Oh, yeah,
Talk
no.
about, American history and man's inhumanity to man or man's kindness to man.
Right.
And you could say the government did a bad thing, but also the government did good things. And then whether there's racism or classism, there's so many things that are in that film.
Yep.
And it's funny that you say a horror film. In a way, it is.
Yeah. I also love the SCTV parody, which was The Grapes of Mud. They keep getting mud slapped in their face.
Oh, I got to see that.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Thanks, Sean. Thank you.
To The Grapes of Wrath and to the Dust Bowl, which was a horror. Basically, John Deere invented the mechanical plow. And that came around in the 1870s. Up to that point, you were plowing with a mule.
Yes.
Right.
Right? And when everyone moved out to the Great Plains, they were the most healthy soils on Earth. The rich top layer was 15 feet deep.
Wow.
And that was developed by bison and grasslands and prairie dogs and wolves all doing their thing. And
Doing
so
their
the
natural thing.
Natural
natural
fertilizer.
Right.
Yeah, and building soil. And so the farmers that I'm working with are trying to emulate that
Right,
and having
right.
success. So as soon as you start plowing, you release so much of the goodness of the soil, the life of the soil, and a lot of it blows away.
Yeah.
Right? And so they actually had a poster, an advertisement that said, "The rain follows the plow." Like, it'll be better weather if you plow. The people who sold the machinery to
Sure.
plow.
Yeah.
And so that's crazy.
What do you mean? Like they're saying that if you plow,
It'll
will
rain,
affect the
it'll be
weather?
fine. Yeah, well, they're basically telling people to go into this area that's a natural grassland, plow it up, and grow wheat. And don't worry, it'll rain enough for you. Right? And so that's 50 years of destroying the prairie.
Wow.
And then a bad couple years of drought, and all of a sudden you've got the Dust Bowl. Farmers put their plates upside down in their cupboard.
That's right. Yeah.
Put their glasses upside down in their cupboard because so much dust was coming in.
Coming in their house, it would just cover everything in the house.
But the trick is, when the Dust Bowl literally blew into the offices of Congress and the president,
Yeah, there you go.
that's what got their attention. So all of a sudden, the president's got this
chicken sandwich and coffee.
This is my chicken sandwich and coffee.
gritty, and it's actually North
That's-
Dakota.
Again, like wait till it gets right in your fucking
Yeah, right.
doorstep.
Exactly.
There you go. Yeah.
Exactly.
The president's doorstep. Then
But if you switch wheat to corn, we are having Dust Bowls now. It's just
From
not
corn.
being reported.
Yeah.
Big giant clouds are blowing across the middle of our country now, but no one's reporting it. But so wild about the Grapes of Wrath is it's talking about how California messed up its own system. So all the water problems in California, you read that book, it's all right there. It's all exactly right there how it started. All the agricultural problems, all the race problems you were talking about,
Yeah.
and the class problems. it's all right there in that book. And you read it, and it's like a history book, but we're repeating it. And what are we doomed to do, right?
And what does the Grapes of Mud say about all that stuff?
I do it. SCTV, is it on? Can you get it on YouTube?
Yeah, I'm sure you can.
Okay.
It's funny.
Well, this has been great and really educational.
It has
I feel
been
like,
very
I mean,
educational.
I've learned
That's
a lot.
why I hang with Peter. He's my smart friend. He teaches me things.
Yeah, really.
Well, how about
And
we
you're
do
my
like
funny friend.
He is a funny friend.
He's
isn't
my
he?
funniest.
Yes, but I'd love to do a little lightning round, like to throw out a few titles.
Yes,
of
yes,
a couple
there's a lot.
ecological. Okay, I know, Sean, you got a mountain of them.
Go, hit us with a bunch of them.
This is one that actually our good friend and former guest Wally Wingert recommended to us. It's a movie from last year called Strange Nature.
Strange Nature.
Directed by James Ojala, and he was like a makeup effects guy, and this is his, I think, first directing job. It's like this small town that's plagued by a growing number of wildlife mutations. I think it's in Minnesota, and it's loosely based on real events.
Oh, the frogs.
Yeah,
All
there were like tons of frogs that people started finding with extra limbs on them, like mutated frogs. And this was like a real thing, and it was in the film, it's like there's these pesticides. It's not like a direct connection to the mutations. It's like kind of a little twisted way of how it works. There it involves like other like snails eating algae, and that creates the other things to eat the snails.
Always a combo.
Yeah, it's a combination of things, but it's a pretty cool little film. It's a low budget, but it's a little bit kind of like Prophecy in a way. It's like, you know, mutated wildlife attacking people. It's done like the characterizations are pretty good. It's a little more in depth with the characters, and it's pretty good. It's really good practical makeup effects too with these creatures. That's one I want to throw out there. I want to throw out a found footage film from 2012 called The Bay. Have you ever seen this?
What'd you think of that?
I liked it. Barry Levinson directed it.
Yeah, that's right.
It's pretty good. It's these residents of a seaside town are infected by this plague that's from the local bay's water, and they're kind of like zombie-ish, kind of like 28 Days Later a little bit, but it's pretty well done. It's like found footage. It's like a news reporter kind of investigating it, and there's a government cover-up. It's pretty cool.
Always one of those.
Yeah,
It's not one of my favorite found footage films, but there was
creepy
some
moments.
There's some creepy moments, and there's some thought that went into the premise, and so
And we've done an episode in the past that was on Nature Strikes Back. But a lot of these are also eco-horror films. So I have to mention, of course, Food of the Gods, which basically is a kind of a strange, mysterious substance that just comes out of the ground and makes animals grow, based on H.G. Wells' novel. Empire of the Ants is radioactive waste causes giant ants. Day of the Animals, it's the depletion of the Earth's ozone layer causes animals at high elevations to go crazy and berserk and attack people.
that's one you should see.
Yeah, that's a fun
What's it
one.
called?
Day of the Animals.
Okay.
And just for the bear fight, and I won't say any more.
Yeah. Kingdom of the Spiders, another one. Tarantulas just strike back at man.
William Shatner.
Yeah, these are all great. So those are just a few. There's more, but that's...
What's the rabbit one? Lupus?
Yes.
Night of the Lupus.
Night of the
Yeah.
No, it's Night of the Lepus.
No,
That's classic.
rabbits get lupus, and they go crazy.
Okay.
But that's
they're mad.
hormones. Hormones
Okay, yes.
injected.
But along those same lines of animals and nuclear waste or whatever, a friend of the show, Jordan Rubin, with Zombievers.
Right,
Zombievers
yes.
from 2014.
right.
We had him on the show to talk about how he got this film made. Turned into a very popular film. It was like one of the highest rated films for, what was it, Netflix or something? That,
Oh, wow.
I mean, he
And it's like toxic chemicals.
toxic chemicals that these beavers, suck it all up and basically wreak havoc on these kids on, hey, in the cabin. And it doesn't go where you think it's going to go. There were some things that happened there that totally surprised me.
Well, if you want to have a healthy ecosystem, especially a healthy waterway, you have to have beavers.
Not a zombiever, a regular beaver.
Right.
Do they do the same things that
yeah.
beavers do?
Right.
As long as they're getting the job done.
Yeah.
I don't care if they're
What they're doing at night.
living dead or whatever those things were.
Do zombievers do beavery things?
You'll just have to see it.
Okay.
Zombievers.
Fair enough.
James?
A couple of titles from Australia. One of them sort of harks back to Koyaanisqatsi that we're talking about from earlier. Just in terms of how far we've gotten from nature. And we've talked about this film before, but mainly about Jenny Agutter being nude. And that's
That always comes up.
of course.
That's nature.
But I don't think we've talked that much about it as a film. And that's Walkabout from 1971. It's Nicholas Rogue. Two young school children get lost in the Australian outback.
Eco horror?
It's not quite eco horror, but there are very creepy scenes. And again, as I mentioned, Koyaanisqatsi, it is a movie that sort of hammers home how far we've gotten from being in touch with nature and how that reconnection with nature can be kind of scary.
Essential.
Scary and essential.
So when you said Australian, I thought you were going to say long weekend.
But I thought you were going to say the rabbit. What's that rabbit fence in Australia? That film. It's,
Oh, yeah. Oh,
that's
God.
a real eco horror film.
Yeah.
What, you mean Watership Down?
No. No.
Although
They put a fence down this giant area of Australia to keep rabbits from coming to the other side of it. And
Lepus.
They stopped all wildlife
From
movement.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
What's the
did.
one that you just brought up?
It's one I've never seen, but I
wanna
hear it's
see
really
that
good.
now.
Long Weekend is an Australian film from 1978. It's basically a couple who's out camping and they disregard nature. They pour
Right,
stuff in the water. They smoke and throw cigarettes.
I hate people that do that.
Sounds
And
like my
they,
student
they
films.
basically treat nature like shit, and then suddenly it's kind of like the birds, but it's like all the animals. It's supposed to be really
I want to
good.
see that. I want
Yeah,
to see that.
It's kind of like Frog.
But
Yeah.
But
doesn't the woman at one point even destroy like an egg, like a bird's
Yeah,
egg?
or something. Yeah, they're just like dicks about
terrible people.
Yeah, treating nature.
But I will give you Walkabout only for the fact that you brought up the name of Jenny Acker.
No, I know it's not an eco horror film. And
We're
the
going to
other-
get into interiors. Do we have to bring this up again?
The other one I mentioned before, but and this isn't eco horror as much as sort of prophecy horror, but it's The Last Wave. I bring it up because ecological terror does happen. There's like
That's true.
a plague of frogs and a giant tidal wave.
right, that's true.
Okay.
Both of these movies feature David Gopalil, who's the Aboriginal actor. Who's
Oh yeah, he was like the
go-to.
guy.
Yeah,
go-to
he's great.
guy.
That's a
Yeah,
great
he's good.
movie, though.
Yeah,
It
it's
is.
really
I love that movie,
bizarre. Yeah.
Well, I mean, we haven't talked too much about actual plants who are monsters, and there's a number of them that I enjoy. First of all, Day of the Triffids.
I love
which
that film.
the 62 film I
That's
enjoy.
yes.
But also the book. And they've done a couple of different productions. There's like
Yeah.
a TV
There's a miniseries.
that
Yeah.
was good, that was related a little bit more to the book. Because in the book, the Triffids are of terrestrial origin.
Oh,
they're
okay.
like, I think they're bioengineered by the USSR
In the
or
book?
something in the
Oh,
book.
I didn't know that. Oh.
Whereas in the movie, the
they're like-
Triffids are spores from a
Meteor shower.
A meteor shower, right?
It
Anyway,
blinds everybody who watches it.
that blinds everyone, and so now you're blind, and you've got killer
Which is a
plants
great
coming
idea.
after you.
It's a
Which
great
I love
idea.
that. I mean,
Yeah.
and I really enjoy that movie.
Yeah, me too.
I think the design of the Triffids. I've watched all other incarnations of Day of the Triffids, the miniseries in the 80s, and there was a 2009 miniseries. But the Triffid design of the 60s film,
I agree.
I love. I
and
think
you know
is
that
wonderful.
movie, the original Day of the Triffids, that movie is just aching to be released in like a deluxe Blu-ray remastered.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
I'd love to see
There's
that.
DVDs out, but they're pretty basic and they're not remastered. Like that movie, somebody has to put that out in a nice deluxe form.
When I was a kid and I heard about there was going to be like shooting stars in August, I purposely did not want to watch them for
Right.
fear that, well, what if I get blinded? And so I didn't want to be that guy.
That's funny.
So no, that's true. After I saw a film, it's like when it said, "Oh, there's a great thing. There's a a shooting star." No, fuck that.
See? Movies teach you things.
They do.
Yeah. I would also like to throw in, if you're going to throw in Walkabout, then I'm going to throw in Little Shop of Horrors.
There you go.
There you go. Yeah, right. Killer plant. And I would suggest there's some sort of eco-terror that created that thing.
Yeah.
You know, I know
It's Roundup.
it's supposed to be from outer space, but I think something in our atmosphere or something made it what it is.
Matt, you bring up a good point because aren't there like some bad fish or something that were brought into like lakes or something, and then they're attacking all the other fish and they're growing and they're like these nasty fish in Kentucky or something.
In
you know?
reality?
Yeah, in reality. Yeah. I heard-
What you're talking about is
It's
it's a Japanese fish, Japanese trout or something in Lake Michigan.
maybe
Yeah.
that's it.
It's an invasive species.
That's it.
That's what they
An
call it.
and that's what we
invasive
haven't
species.
talked about invasive species.
Little Shop of Horrors. I think I just brought it
Invasive
up.
species.
You just,
But-
but that's what made me think
And
of
they
it, Matt.
sing.
As a thing, though, and that's where the Day of the Triffids is an invasive species.
Yes, it is.
Oh, I see.
Yes, it
Right,
is.
okay.
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's got no predator.
Yes.
And I don't know if you guys have been in the Southeast. Do you know what kudzu is? Okay, so, I mean, talk about dumb human behavior. So there's this vine from Japan called kudzu. It's a nice name. And it helps keep hills from eroding.
Got it.
Someone thought, oh, let's plant it in South Carolina. We have erosion problems. Well, the erosion problems are because they don't know how to farm properly, and they're plowing everything, and it's eroding. So let's put kudzu in it, and there's nothing to stop kudzu. So it's literally taking over the whole southeastern United States. Wow. You drive to areas where the hills are covered with it, trees are covered with it.
Ah.
It's just
Wow.
Hundreds
Who's
of
the
square
idiot
miles.
Who decided that?
Yeah, that's it. It is.
Wow.
It's one of those things where you go like, how are we this stupid? Like, hey, well, let's wait one more day to do another test to
Yeah.
see what the ramifications of this thing
Or
could be.
yeah, and so that's happening. So that's,
like the-
invasive species.
That's like the
Crazy.
Stephen King episode in Creepshow where all the plants are just spread out
Yeah.
everywhere and all growing.
Yeah.
There you go.
Jordy Verrill.
Right.
Well, one of my favorite Doctor Who episodes during the Tom Baker
Oh, yes.
time is The Seeds of Doom, which was in the 13th season, and
Which you knew.
which you know.
Of course.
And it's all about there's this alien plant called the crinoid. And it's in these little, they're like seed pods. And out of the seed pod grows this little plant that ends up taking you over a la The Thing. It changes you basically into it.
Right.
Oh wow.
And considering the special effects of the time,
Kind of like Terminator 2, like that.
well, it,
Or Matrix, where they
it
do the-
absorbs you.
Okay. All right.
So for a little while, you've still got your marbles.
Mm-hmm.
You're able to say, "Oh my God, this is happening to me! Help! Help! Help!" And then it ends up taking you over and like absorbing you into this massive plant mind. And the way that the episode progresses, it's very much like The Thing. And that's kind of maybe why, another reason why I really like it. Like John Carpenter's The Thing. Because, you know, you got this research station that's out in the Arctic or Antarctic, I forget which. They find this thing and they're studying it, but then it overruns the entire complex, and the doctor has to be brought in with Sarah Jane Smith, and it's just pure fun.
Yeah, it's
and
good.
then ultimately the thing grows into a giant plant, and it's everything that you want out of a classic Doctor Who adventure.
there you go.
What's great about it is that it's what I love so much about that Tom Baker era, which it's able to bring in the humor of Tom Baker and his eccentricities, but also play against gothic horror. Because there's a villain in it who he wants to get a hold of this seed and these crinoids because he thinks plants are the most noble life form on the planet, and he wants plants to take over, and he plays his organ to the plants and does all that, you know. So it's like it's got all the little earmarks of like a crazy gothic villain, and you've got the doctor doing his thing. And it's a wonderful episode, and that's a good place to go. And I showed this to Dana when we were on the road once, and he loved it. It's really great.
That's
Thanks
awesome.
for sharing that, Matt.
I guess I'll close her out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to go back to nuclear.
Okay.
Nuclear, not
Nuclear.
nuclear.
Not nuclear, no.
And even in China Syndrome, the only person who says it correctly is Jane Fonda.
Really?
Is
She
that
says-
right?
She
No
says
way.
nuclear.
Really?
Reallier.
And
Did I just say realier?
and Michael Douglas says nuclear.
No.
Wow.
And he plays this like, you know, environmental protesty lefty guy. And
What
he
about
says it
Jack
wrong.
Lemmon? What about, does he?
I don't know if he ever says it because I was
Yeah.
listening
Calls-
for it.
yeah, yeah.
I was
Calls it
listening
Oscar.
for it. Yeah. He came to Cal Arts to show us that film when I was a student.
No.
Jack Lemmon? Really?
Yeah.
Cool.
Wow.
And
that's
it was
awesome.
filmed in Cal Arts.
Wow.
The,
That's
It's a
awesome.
neat movie.
Yeah.
The big sort of hearings
Sure.
Oh,
was
yeah,
filmed in
right.
Cal Arts.
Yes.
And where Michael Douglas's sound guy gets the files
Yes.
is physically right at the bottom of the hill of Cal Arts.
No.
Wow.
And so we laughed when we saw it because there's this long car chase where he gets knocked off the cliff, but really the drive was just 800 feet.
The magic of
Magic-
filmmaking.
So just to say that, but I think the Matrix, because the truth of the Matrix
Oh,
is
that's
we
true.
have completely ruined the
That's
planet.
true. Right. Right.
And so that is a
Yeah.
eco-disaster.
Oh, yeah,
I
definitely.
agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
And then I think just sort of like what's about to happen is Dr. Strangelove.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
He's going down.
Well, hopefully not. but, you know.
No, it's happening because he's riding the bomb. So, you know, it's like you know, in The Graduate, you kind of figure they're going to get divorced, even though they had this great,
Yeah.
you know, thing.
Yeah,
The bomb's going to go off.
All right, everybody.
Well, Peter, I want to thank you so much for joining us today. I mean, you talked about a lot of great things.
Peter,
My
And-
pleasure.
you were saying earlier that your son was hoping that you would have a chance to cuss on the show. I don't know if you've cussed.
I did.
You did.
I
Okay.
threw one in there.
Okay. I
Yeah.
missed
A
it.
couple tarnations. and you
Dang nabbit.
Dag nabbit.
Yeah.
But
Dag
anyway,
nabbits are good.
your film,
son of a biscuit.
a climate change
the
solution
front door.
movie, Carbon Nation,
Yeah.
is something where can we see that? Where can we
If
listen?
you go to carbonnation.tv, all the streaming options are there.
okay,
So is that the one-stop shopping for you of all your stuff?
No, carboncowboys.org is the new stuff.
Okay.
So Carbon Nation came out in 2011.
yeah.
And all the new films under the Carbon Cowboys thread are up at carboncowboys.org.
So the new film that you're working on, it's gonna come out. Will it come out in 2020?
I hope to finish it in 2020. So what's happening is we've discovered these innovative farmers that are doing this amazing stuff with the way they're grazing. Seems to be working very well for them. So now the reason I'm wrangling scientists is we're doing a large research project on farms to discover on the adaptive side versus the conventional side what's going on. And so we're doing a large research project. So all of that research is going to be analyzed and typed into peer-reviewed papers this year.
Right.
And I'm making a documentary about the farmers and the scientists all out in the field.
Oh, okay.
Oh, great.
So it might be 2021, but
Yeah.
if so, do we? The title is?
I don't even know yet.
You're not even sure.
I don't know. But if you go to carboncowboys.org, you'll get to see a lot of short films right now.
Okay.
That's where the other project
Right.
will live as well.
That'd be good to see if we're all still here and the Earth is still alive
It will be here.
by then. Okay.
We'll be here.
Cool.
I'm not worried about that.
I hope so.
I'm not
Enjoy
worried about that.
delicious Soylent Green.
Well, Peter, thanks again for being with us
Yeah,
on the
thank
show.
you, guys.
Loved
This was
having
awesome.
Yeah.
you.
And can I just say,
Yes.
I am a longtime listener. And to be three-dimensionally in a live event that I can't call into, I'm here. This is
Yeah, you
this
lived
is-
it.
This is great.
And this
This
was
has
a
been
pretty
really
raucous
good.
one too.
This
There
is
was-
good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And-
no,
and-
this is,
We wanted to give you the full Monster Party experience.
but also this is like we're talking about Monster Party stuff and monsters and horror, but we're also talking about a real
It's a real thing, yeah.
and real
Very
important
real.
subject.
And that's why
Yeah,
it
it's
was
great.
so important to get someone who is knowledgeable, knows their stuff, and can tell us when we're wrong, when the movies are wrong.
That's right.
And where they're right.
But remember, this all starts from filmmaking. Like, I'm a filmmaker who
Sure.
got curious
Right.
about climate change solutions, right? And then I got curious about these farmers, and like all this research, all this input that's going on right now came from one little short film. And so, Monster Party's about films,
That's true.
and all the work we're doing starts with films.
There you go.
That's true.
Yeah. Well said.
And here's a toast to a healthy Earth.
Yay!
Thank you, Peter, for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Time for a listener shout out.
Eco shout out.
Koyani shout out.
Nice.
Nice one.
This comes from our pal and longtime listener, Fred Barringer from Connecticut. And it's a review.
Cool.
Uh-oh.
Fred writes, an inner sanctum where fantasy, sci-fi, horrordom boils down into an essential goo worthy of the podcast pantheon.
Ooh, all right.
Cool.
These four podcast men of the monster apocalypse spew boundless knowledge of all things that are monster fantasy and sci-fi through an unholy alliance of demon booze, dripping sarcasm, sarcastic interruption bombs, and keen insight. They couple this with, no doubt, many lifetimes of viewing behind them. These four 50-ish lads,
Oh, did he have to go there?
he said lads, tell tales of yesteryears while tapping a deep well from their many moons of watching the classics and lesser known of the genre's movies, books, and collectibles.
Nice.
If you think I'm being wordy, you must listen to them, as they are never at a loss for words, descriptions, details, and opinions. Oh, the opinions. Lots of fun, frolic. Did I mention occasional demon booze?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And special guests always abound at the inner sanctum, where Cthulhu surely has planted his seeds into them. Now, if they would only get to that Battlestar Galactica episode.
Yeah, we should do
Wow.
that.
Okay.
I'd be happy to do. Yes.
It would be a challenge, but I am willing to accept that challenge.
Ooh. Fred writes, as a longtime fan and cap wearer, coaster user
Nice.
of the Monster Party brand, I, Fred Fred Barringer in Connecticut, I say to all potential listeners, plant your podcasting flag here and invade. Invade! Invade! Awesome review.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Thank you.
That was a novella.
That was awesome.
Brilliant.
That's the best.
Oh my God. Yeah, that was like
I love being referred to as essential goo.
I like it too. Yeah.
Now look, there may be some other listeners that might be intimidated by this amazing review.
Yeah, you'll never be as good as that.
You don't need to try to top that. You know,
But you should try.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
That was terrific.
It
Thanks,
was.
Fred.
Thank you, Fred.
Well, we have another little shout out to our good friend and listener, Angela McNichol.
Angela McNichols, another fan.
I love her.
She sent us another
Wait.
little gift.
She sent us a gift.
Another gift?
A little card and little things in here. Let me just read this card for you first.
Okay.
Here we go.
This is a card. It's Happy Holidays from Chicago. Dear Larry, Matt, Sean, and James.
I'm first.
I'm last.
I wanted to send you a little. I wanted to send you a little horror fun. It was great meeting Matt and James at G Fest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope maybe 2020 will be the year you all can come out and make it. I hope so.
Yeah.
I can finally have drinks with you guys. And then she says, as always, I can't thank you guys enough for always being great to me and giving me so many hours of quality entertainment and loads of belly laughs.
It's quality.
That's right.
Entertainment.
She puts quality in quotation marks.
Wait a minute. Come on.
Oh, that's funny. Come on.
Love you guys and wishing you and your families a wonderful, fun, and adventurous holiday season. Angela and Rob. P.S. Larry, I put your name in all caps so you can feel a little extra special. Big hug.
Angela, thank you. I do. I do.
And she sent us like these vintage Tops cards, Fright Flicks. And one has Freddy Krueger on. The other one has the chick from
Fright Night.
chick.
Yes.
chick from
The
Fright
chick
Night.
from
with the big-
Fright
the
Night.
big
Wait,
mouth
wait.
face.
She only sent us two?
Yeah, she's just two little packs.
Well,
Well, there's four of us,
Okay, wait a
Sean.
minute.
yeah, we share. We're not going to open.
What, we're going to share? How do I share
Okay,
two?
wait. Whoa, wow. How quickly it descends. We'll put him in the museum.
Yeah, they're here for the Monster Party Museum.
Put him next to her
Jeez.
position.
Larry,
That's right.
she put your name in caps. Okay.
Oh, thanks, Angela.
Thank you, Angela.
Wow.
Thank you, Angela.
I thought there might be
Only
four.
our most devoted fan here.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, thank you so much, Angela. It's fantastic. Thank you
really
so much,
appreciate
and
it.
hope you had a great holiday as well.
She's lovely. She is. She's
Yes.
great. And Rob is great too.
Yeah. They're
Yeah,
great.
I mean that's really cool.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
He's still hurting from it.
Believe you.
Angela, see what we have to deal with.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, you can still feel the gum inside.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah, don't
crumbly.
shake it. You're gonna
Here,
make it
get-
turn it into
it
powder.
already is.
No, it's not powder.
That one is. That one's
Oh,
powder.
that's you can have that.
Larry,
well,
Larry, do you want to take one home?
No.
You can have it.
No,
You can
I-
have it.
no, we're
Do you
gonna
guys care? Do
I
you
don't
care?
Fine.
No.
I'm not gonna be that
Do
guy.
you care?
We should.
We're saying we don't
should keep
care.
them in the Monster Party
Well, I'll
Museum.
take.
No.
I'll put one as an example of what she gave us in our Monster
Yes.
Party Museum. You take one.
Larry,
Which
I
one do
think-
you want?
I think Angela would be happy if you took one.
Yeah.
No, because then
I
it
think-
makes me look like I'm really
No.
spoiled.
Well, you
Let's-
are, but that's okay.
well,
No, this is more a reflection of how much we love you.
Yeah.
We want you to be happy.
No,
and so why don't you take the one that has the most gum intact or whatever?
Okay, because I feel like
You
this
feel
is-
it, right?
You know what? This is the new leaf. I'm
is-
going to put this in the museum.
Okay.
Go ahead,
But you
Sean.
don't have to.
Thank you.
All right.
Museum it goes.
Man, I don't know how to
I
make
can-
this right.
I can look at it from afar.
Yes.
Okay.
Fantastic.
Wow.
Hey, let's remind our listeners that you can find us on Facebook and YouTube at Monster Party TV and on Twitter at Monster Party HQ. Our Instagram handle is also Monster Party HQ. On whatever platform you're listening to us, please take a moment and write a review because we will read it on the air.
Yeah.
And also
Send us stuff too.
a reminder.
4 of them.
Well, I would want to say, it's always nice if you send 4 things because there's 4 of us. I mean,
2020, the new Larry Show.
If you're going to turn over a leaf, turn over 4 of them. Because there's 4 of us.
A reminder that we will once again have a booth at the Monster Palooza
Oh, that's true,
convention.
yes.
in May.
Monsterpalooza!
Yeah.
So buy your tickets now.
Get them now.
Yeah, we'd love
Come
to see
by
you
and
there.
visit.
That would be wonderful.
Going to be
Brief.
Could be brief.
it's going to be brief for you, huh?
No, I mean,
They can
come
come,
by,
they can
chat.
hang
like,
out.
But don't hang around, is what you're saying.
But there's only going to be 2 chairs at our booth, not 4. So we'll have to decide who sits in the chair.
musical monster party.
Oh, is that what we're doing? Oh, really? Oh, I see. Oh, okay.
Right. You're going to have to get a lot of coffee. So
I was gonna say, so you're gonna be standing out in front of the table, going, "Hi, everyone, come on in. I'm Shawn Sheridan. Hey, you're gonna, yeah."
Anyway, so please come to Monsterpalooza. We're all going to be there, no matter how briefly, and we'll show you a good time because we're good time people.
Maybe we'll chat with you for the show.
Yes, you could
Come by.
be on the air.
Yes.
How exciting is that?
And look, understand too, if we're chatting to other people, just wait. Do you wait your turn? You know, and because sometimes there's a lot of people that want to
Just wait in line and try to make your way through the throngs of people and try not to get crushed.
You have to get separate tickets to get in line.
No,
to the party.
I'm gonna make an effort.
Wristbands.
Wristband.
I'm gonna make an effort to, if I'm talking to someone, I see someone kind of by booth, I'm gonna go, "Hey, we're gonna be with you in just a moment." You know,
I
I'm gonna try
love
to.
that.
I'm gonna try to be
Love
more
it.
alert and attentive to people on the outside, the fringe.
You're a good man, and we most likely, I would say definitely, have a new T-shirt to sell.
Oh yeah.
A limited edition Monsterpalooza T-shirt that you will love to have. Yeah. So there. On that note, I am Matt Weinhold.
I'm Shawn Sheridan.
I'm Larry Stroth.
And I'm James Gonis.
Keep America strong.
Watch Eco Horror. And remember, save the earth, save the earth, save the earth, save the earth,
Save evolution, stop all pollution.
save the earth.
Oh, there we go. Now it works.
We are officially, I had it unplugged.
Yeah, I love it.
You know?
It's always the last button.
It's always the last button. Right. It's like the IT crowd. Have you tried turning it on and off again?
Eco horror. Yeah, sounds good.
I thought it was echo horror, like horror movies with echoes.
Echo. Ecological.
Yeah, like Friday the 13th. I had a list.
I had an engineering class at Cal Arts,
This is a great story, by the way.
and
The pressure's on.
yeah,
He knows me.
The teacher, I love you. The teacher taught us that if something's not working, smack the fuck out of it.
All right.
That does work.
And I was bringing up a monitor I hadn't used in 2 years. I was setting up my editing gear at home over Christmas so I could have the fire going.
Yeah.
I could do some editing. And the monitor didn't turn on for the first time in the 12 years I've owned it. And I just hauled,
You're a lovely man.
Smack it hard.
and it worked great.
Yeah,
And I
sometimes.
literally posted my first sort of, hey, this just happened to me on Facebook.
Larry, you will find this appalling, but there are many times where I've had a vintage toy that wouldn't work, and I banged it, and it started working again.
No.
Yes.
That's what engineers do.
It's like Fonzie in the jukebox.
Oh, they bang vintage toys.
I am the Fonzie of vintage
Or they
toys.
bang their 16-track audio decks with
See,
a vintage toy.
Okay, look.
Okay, I need to meditate in the back room.
Go
for a
do your
second.
meditation.
Okay.
Oh, gosh.
Well, I go off.
Meditate?
So
Read?
So wait a minute. So you're saying high tech guys like, oh, I've got this high tech, highfalutin machine. You know, and I just whack it. That's different from whacking a little tin wind up robot.
Correct. He does the toy whacking. I'm talking about smacking the Ampex 1206Q.
No, I understand that.
made up that number.
I get that. You know, that's all through history. People said, "Oh, why won't the record player go?" And you hit it, or you know, it's like, "Wow, why not this wheel move?" You know, hit the wheel kind of thing and stuff.
Why
But
isn't this child moving?
well, no.
you don't wanna do that.
But as far as a toy, I mean, if it's a vintage toy, chances are like smacking it is only going to make things worse.
But he's saying it worked.
You know, here's the thing.
Well, it depends on what vintage.
See, yes. Is it is it a block of cement, or is it because I know toys sometimes in the 60s, sometimes the plastic over a period of time becomes very brittle, and it's very sensitive, and you whack any of that, it's like you just cracked it or broke it, or so.
Toy question. Maybe we should bring Matt in.
No, it's okay.
Do you remember those? It was car molds, and you would pour hot plastic to build the car body.
I don't remember. I remember the rubber one.
There's
like bugs.
creepy crawlers.
Creepy crawlers.
Yeah,
Creepy
those I
crawlers.
remember.
And yes,
But these were
Styrene-
die-cast molds,
right.
to pour the plastic in.
Yeah.
To then you had your Hot Wheels car body.
Right.
If it was not Hot Wheels. Do you guys remember those? This is late 60s,
Yeah,
early 70s.
vaguely. And it follows the same kind of principle as the creepy crawlers. Here it's like, hey, let's give these kids a thing you plug in and it's really hot. But if you remember all through toy history, there were some great dangerous toys. Like probably the most famous
That could be
one.
an episode.
Yeah, the most
that's a
famous
good idea.
one. The most famous one is the scientific atomic kit, which actually had a little atomic isotope or something, and it came. Yes, it came. Of course, now it's like you can't have that, but
now you can.
Well,
Back
they're
then.
very rare, and it's radioactive. It's you look at. Remember when they had here in the 1950s? Here's my scientific chemistry set, and there was an atomic set.
But not with a real.
Yes, it had it had an itty bitty. It was very
The world's
small.
most dangerous toy.
Yeah, it's one of the world, and goes down in history as one of the most dangerous toys. And I remember trying. I think I had heard about this toy before they came out with the most dangerous toy lists or whatever, and I was trying to find it because I thought, atomic. Hey, Godzilla's atomic, and this would be something really cool.
I know those. Hold on.
Oh yeah,
Hold on.
Atomic Energy Lab.
yeah.
That's a Triffid.
There you go.
I gotta look. I gotta read that.
I thought the Triffids were more human than the people.
What?
Movie.
What?
I did.
Okay, you know what? Let's save this for the show.
Well, we have been recording for.
Well, this is our extras. Okay,
pull this stuff.
now
I need
are you-
some time. I had to drop a Larry.
Yes.
Now I'm back.
Oh, hey, it's a new year. It's got a new year. He's got his new little joke book out. That's great. That's very funny. I like that.
Is it?
Yes.
Okay.
But getting back to funny, just really quickly.
Getting back to funny.
No, I just wanted to say, don't make that face when someone says, "Hey, you should revisit that network," or they're looking for comedy guys, and you're poo, I don't want to talk to those guys. I know there's a lot of politics involved, but it's like your time may be coming up here.
I do, yeah. If they ever bring back your show of shows, I think. Yeah, I remember all the old routines. Oh yes. Yeah.
Okay, and before we get
Man dressed as a lady. Oh, I know them all.
and do you remember our pet peeve show that we just,
I do remember.
Okay. It wasn't.
I think it was the last one.
I think I was listening to it
so.
this morning.
Yeah, and do you want to know what was one of my things? What was one of my things? Do you remember? One of
Me
my pet-
interrupting you.
No. That was when we were talking about
Personal pet peeves.
Personal
That's
pet
right.
peeves.
Okay, all right, what was the other pet peeve?
It was remakes. Remember that? And you're all,
Yes.
oh, Larry, I agree.
that's true.
And what just came out in the news?
What?
They
There was
want-
something about Iran, I thought.
Remake. No.
They're remaking Iran?
No.
They're trying to.
Some people might like that. Who
All
knows?
right. Very funny. No, they want to remake Jaws. And Steven Spielberg may be executive producer.
No.
And it's like,
No.
whoa. Hey, let's just remake The Wizard of Oz. You know that Judy Garland
Well, they-
film?
No, I'm with you.
Actually,
They
hold
did,
On,
yeah.
Hold on. The Wizard of Oz was a remake.
That's right. That's true.
It's true.
You know that. though.
Listen. It was a musical. The original.
First condescension.
No, Peter. Hey, hello.
See?
No, I just want to correct.
better-
You're
it's
like,
better in the room.
okay. It was like a complete remake. No, because it was a silent film, and it was a segment, a piece of one of those long, drawn out stories for the Wizard of Oz. It had those characters, but the Wizard of Oz with Judy Garland, it's a completely different film. Completely
You were talking
different.
about that with Evil Dead 2. Is it a remake? Is it a?
Yes.
That's kind of
Yeah.
No.
I'm
Evil
making a
Dead
point.
2.
Mad Max and Road Warrior.
I'm
Well,
making a
no.
point.
No, that's
Or
not a
Star
remake.
Wars
No, I'm not
and-
saying it's remake, but it's like
Because Mad
Wars.
Max
Some of the same.
is absolutely a prequel to
Yes.
the Road Warrior.
Yes.
It's the first film.
Right.
It leads
But
into
they-
Road Warrior.
Yes.
Yeah, but they still go over some of the same ideas in that film.
No,
Road
wait,
Warrior.
Sean,
Yeah.
what they do is they show you a little bit of what happened in the first movie
Right.
for those people who didn't see the first movie, just like with
Yes,
Evil Dead.
I know what you're
Okay.
getting to.
Larry,
Yes.
Larry, I think I can help soothe your concern here because from what I read on
so happy you said
social media,
concern.
this announcement about Jaws has kind of been debunked because it was from a site called We Got This Covered, which has a tendency to make stuff up.
Oh, really?
Is that another
you know-
Russian site?
Well, here's
be.
the thing.
And I think if you look on the website, I think it says on the bottom, it says, "Ha ha, we fooled you, Larry."
Yeah. Signed the Kremlin.
But I will say this. I will say this.
the show.
Are you?
Let's start
are
the
you-
show.
No,
No, I don't want to interrupt you. This is part of the new thing.
you don't want to interrupt me because you just did.
Okay, but
it's like, what happened to the new leaf? Oh, 2020. Oh, I'm not going to interrupt Larry anymore.
giving it back.
We just started. And it's like you know sooner than a couple minutes, and you just jump right in,
this is
and
a
then you
fla-
say to me,
this
and then
is
you
a
go,
flash-
Giving it back.
I'm not going
giving
to
it back.
interrupt you, Larry. Oh, thank you, Matt. Thank
I'm
you so
giving
much.
it back.
See,
The guest wanted to start the show. I'm overly
I was entertained.
concerned with the guest. And so, no, please finish your thought.
no, we have
Can't remember your thought now?
I do. We have a
Finish
wonderful
it.
guest. We have a
I
wonderful guest.
insist I will not start the show unless you finish.
No, we're moving on.
We have to talk about Koyaanisqatsi.
Totally.
I just can't say it right.
What's
You
your-
did-
Did
no,
you
you
write?
did a nice job.
I need you to. What should I say about you?
Why are you bringing this up when we haven't even started?
Because I just remembered it.
Yeah, because I just went, Koya.
Yeah.
Can we check? Am I good? My level? Am I good?
Okay.
Test.
Isn't it every year?
I think everybody.
Okay,
I think
just
everybody
sure.
sounds good.
I sound good.
Everybody
Okay.
sounds great.
every year. We think things will change, and how much it stays the same.
Do you have a pen?
Yes,
You have a piece of
I came
paper.
prepared.
Larry,
Do
do
you
you
have
have
a piece of
do you have a
Yes.
straw?
Can I?
Yes, I brought him a straw, and it was sealed for freshness. Did
It
you
is
notice?
very fresh.
Did you not say?
It tastes delicious.
But did you not notice?
Like the day that it was squished through the machinery.
I didn't take it out of a box. And go here, take this straw. I've been handling. It was like a fresh
No.
straw
Yeah.
sealed.
More layers.
You need to write something down.
Yes, I need you to. I need.
Who's going to
Peter,
write?
is it?
I can write something down.
Oh, you
Wait,
got, you got a
what?
notebook.
You don't know our guest's name?
No, I'm kidding.
Do you want me to do the introduction?
No, just give me a piece of paper.
Okay, give me a second. Let me tear it from my.
On to? Don't ruin the wood.
Just carve into the table.
If there's anything I hate, I
this
hate it.
priceless
You want me to
antique.
write it down?
Yeah, just
No,
write it down.
no,
or I
no,
can
no.
write it down.
Look, here's your paper.
Okay.
I don't like to rip
look,
it and have it be
here we go.
jagged.
Look, I know it's a serious topic, but let's all just relax a little bit because
Here we go.
This is a very important topic.
Peter Bick.
Peter Big.
Like the lighter.
Okay, got it.
Born in Kentucky.
Oh shit.
Thought it was
on.
Louisville. Louisville.
I'll say that if you want.
I thought it was kind of cool.
Born in Kentucky. Currently wears shoes.
Born a poor black child.
First PA job was on Hamburger the Movie.
Oh, we're not really going to do this. Are we? I need.
And then
And
what I do?
Fatal Pulse.
Yeah, he found that. I
There's
forgot
an
all
obscure
about
horror film he was a PA on called Fatal Pulse.
it. Director of Carbon Nation.
Yeah.
Direct-
Oh, that sounds good.
Director of Garbage.
I hear there's a great animated sequence in that.
There's actually some great DVD extras too.
Oh yeah.
and nudity.
Director of
Garbage.
Garbage.
I was called Mr. 120 Minutes at one point when MTV was showing 3 of my videos at once in the early 90s.
Wow.
Wow.
This is stuff you need to tell us.
No,
No.
That's not stuff I tell you.
No, it is.
That's
it was a guy from Hollywood Records. He's
I
like,
need the-
oh, there's Mr. 120 Minutes.
I need the context of this. I can't just.
Okay.
And so give me. And then what's the latest? What are you doing now? What's your thing?
Trying to save the planet.
You know, you invite one fucking hippie to the show.
I got the thing.
You describe him as a hippie?
Oh, come
He's
on.
not really hippie-like. Is this like the new hippie? This look?
This is old.
He
is
chained
the
himself to our front door.
This is the 2020 hippie.
I couldn't get in.
Okay.
Let me put it this way. I was hanging with hippies in the late 60s.
Oh.
And I was offered a joint when I was 5 at an art school in Louisville, Kentucky.
No.
I didn't know it was a joint. I just thought these people rolled their own cigarettes. Isn't that interesting?
And you took a cigarette at
No.
5?
He offered it to me, some artist in college.
I got one at 7
And I said, no.
That you did the right thing.
Thank you.
at SHAWN.
Did you take it?
Yeah.
Was that your first concert?
Yeah.
Mine was the Fifth Dimension.
Oh, that's awesome.
Wow.
I bet you. I
And
bet that was a
remember
great show.
joke from the comedian who opened for them.
Do you remember the comedian?
I don't remember the comedian,
Okay.
but I remember the joke.
All right. Let's get.
Okay.
What? No. Tell me the joke. You got to tell me the joke now.
So I was on a plane and I had a shoe on, and the lady next to me said, "Hey, you lost a shoe." And he goes, "Lost a shoe."
Wow.
I found a shoe. Is what he was implying.
Oh yeah, that's good. That's good. Oh man, I must have liked that. Oh man, that's far out.
Yeah.
Okay.
I liked it.
All right. So what's your thing now?
Carbon Cowboys.
Carbon Cowboys.
And I'm a wrangler of scientists.
I like that.
True.
I like that.
difficult.
Wrangler.
You know,
difficult.
I can imagine.
It's getting more difficult.
Really? Aren't there a lot of them out there?
It looks nice. Those ladies look nice.
Our guest is looking at the figures on
the one next to the
Lupin
ladies.
Fujiko figures.
Suggestive figures.
You do not want to look at
Shot.
those with a black light. I'm just saying. Because
Is that a racist comment?
no, I'm saying
Oh, no.
See, he can handle that.
What do you mean?
He can handle that.
Let's, I just want us to be,
Can't we
what?
get
What,
along?
Larry? Just be like what?
I was here during the riots. I know what it's like.
Yeah, no.
I want us
We're
to be,
street.
I want us to be cool, okay? I want
We,
us to be-
all right, Daddy-o.
and hip.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, you Bobby Soxer. Okay, let's do this.
So I'm supposed to be quiet until you tell
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just keep your mouth
Just
shut
when in-
until we tell you to stop.
When in doubt, shut the fuck up.
Peter, you might want to move your chair in to make sure that you're right by the
yeah,
mic.
definitely
Yeah.
hug the mic.
Pretend that you're on the show. Okay. God, fucking hippies.
Been pretending for 5 years.
Yeah, I'm swearing a little bit more for your kids.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Now, just out of curiosity, do I get my pen back, or do you need to hold on to it?
Just out of curiosity.
No, I'm just okay. Thank
You
you.
like put it in your up in your ear.
No. Okay, I'll
Right in the joy hole.
Yeah, I'll never touch that pen.
No. Or my Fujiko figures. Really, seriously. You don't want to do that.
Are we going to start this?
Yes, we're going to do it right now. Okay, ready? I would have to say that I enjoyed Snork
Piercer.
Wait,
Piercer.
okay.
The Banana Splits movie. Snork Piercer.
Here, let's give you a moment. Here we go.
Yeah.
And quiet.
Time for a listener shout out.
Shout out! Shout out! Eco shout out.
My voice just cracked. I got to do it again. I'm sorry.
Oh.
So that dust,
From the Dust Bowl.
corn dust.
Yeah. Anyway, so please attend Monster Palooza because we're all going to be there, however briefly, and we'll show you a good time. Right?
Totally.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Woohoo! Larry?
Go. Wait, was this a practice? Was this a practice?
No.
That was the real thing?
Practice now.
Well, now it is the practice because you ruined the whole fucking thing.
I thought you were going, hey, how about this? I'm sorry.
Okay.
Here we go. Now for real.
On that note, keep America strong.
Save the earth.
Watch. Oh, that's funny. So what if we go? And I don't care if we sing this and it's no one's gonna care. But what if we do like watch eco horror and save the earth, save the earth,
Stop all pollution. Save evolution.
Save the earth.
What is it?
Stop all pollution. Save evolution. Save the earth.
So what if
Or
we
something
did
like that.
save the earth, save the earth, save the earth, save the earth, and then you alone
Okay.
Wait.
sing that.
Is it save
Stop.
evolution, stop all pollution, or stop all pollution, save evolution?
Oh,
you know?
fuck.
I think
I
it's
thought you
I think
did.
it's stop all.
Save evolution, stop all pollution.
I'll try it.
All right.
Yeah.
And then we
Then
and
come
then
back in.
save the all
Yeah,
of us,
that's it,
save
yeah.
the earth.
Save
You
evolution,
got that?
Stop
Well,
all
well, sure.
pollution.
After Sean sings his, shouldn't we end with the way to
Save the earth.
Finish. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's try it.
Okay, let's try it.
But I don't remember how this thing goes, so it's what is it? Save the earth. Okay. Okay. All right. Good.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Okay. Here we go.
Okay. Keep.
Monster Party Tourette's.
I'm jumping the gun.
Wow.
Sorry, I got so excited.
Okay. All right.
Here we go.
Here we go. On that note, I am Matt Weinhold.
I'm Shawn Sheridan.
I'm Larry Stroth.
And I'm James Gonis.
Keep America strong.
Okay. Wait a minute.
Well, I was trying to get 2020.
It's great. It's great. But just a teensy bit less. Just a little bit less.
Less muscle.
Because I want to hear your voice, and it was getting lost a little bit in the growl.
All right.
Well, not
I
only,
just love your voice.
not only that, but if your Keep America Strong is up here, then Matt's Save the Earth has to be up here, right?
All right. All right.
Yeah.
I can't follow you, Larry.
Okay.
Okay.
Sure.
Leave me something.
Here we go.
Okay, here we go. Let the train go by.
Wait.
There's a circus train in town,
After
so
Larry
Here,
says,
sir, go by.
after Larry says Keep America Strong, do we all sing Save the Earth?
No,
you go-
He has to say
watch eco horror.
And remember,
And you want me to say and
yes.
remember?
And remember.
Save the Earth.
Okay.
Jump in.
Save the
And then
earth.
we all sing.
And then we all
Save the earth.
Okay, cool.
save the earth.
Save evolution, stop all pollution.
Save the earth.
Perfect.
Yeah.
All right.
Great.
Okay.
Love it.
I think it's great.
I love it.
Okay. Let's do this.